from making their point. They have been stopped right below the climb towards the Raisina Hill. They're holding placards. Who are the leaders present there? Mallikarjun Kharge, P. Chidambaram, Vivek Tankha, other members of parliament as well. They're all sloganeering against the enforcement directorate, against the central government, and against the government's what they are calling vendetta politics. So those are the visuals that are coming in from outside Vijay Chowk. And Pramod is just showing you how police vehicles are being used to block that road completely. More and more police vehicles are being brought in. Because this is an impromptu protest, and though police was trying to get its act in order, looks like they're also facing some kind of a challenge. Police vehicles right now blocking the route towards Raisina Hills. Congress leaders are all assembling there and continuing to shout slogans there. And media persons trying to get in a word. So those are the pictures outside the Parliament House building as you move towards North Block and South Block. Why is this protest happening? What the Congress party has alleged is that central agencies like CBI and Enforcement Directorate are being misused. This is on day 2 of Sonia Gandhi's questioning. They are getting out a banner and they want to do a sit-in dharna. All right, leaders are sitting there on the main road. KTS Tulsi leading the charge there. They're all sitting on the main road, refusing to budge, even as Delhi police has put up vehicles as barricades, not allowing the Congress delegation to move beyond that road which leads from Parliament towards the Raisina Hills. Some leaders have already sat down on the main road. They have declared a sit-in protest, refusing to budge from there. So it's a full-on tamasha. This, even as in the next couple of minutes, you will see Lok Sabha reconvene, Rajya Sabha reconvene. 4 MPs of the Congress party have been suspended for protesting inside the house, and even outside the house, just outside the Parliament building, you can see just below the Raisina Hill, so before you reach the North Block and South Block, onwards to which is Rashtrapati Bhavan, the Congress leaders have been stopped, the members of Parliament have been stopped. Police vehicles have been used as barricades. More and more, police men and women are being brought in because there are Mahila MPs as well. So police women also being brought in. And this protest is continuing. So those are pictures that we are bringing to you live from outside the Parliament House. What has happened in the last 5 minutes? The members of Parliament of the Congress party started coming out one by one, not many, about 20-25 of them started coming out one by one from the Parliament House complex, and they marched towards the Raisina Hills, towards the Rashtrapati Bhavan. Just as they walked about 500 meters, they were stopped by the police, and now they are sitting down there doing their dharna, refusing to move from that location where police has stopped them. Ridva, if you can see these pictures and give me a minute, then I'll try and get close to where the MPs are and get their voices for you.
Absolutely. Arunima, please go ahead. We continue to stay with those visuals that are now coming in from Vijay Chowk. As Arunima was pointing out, what is crucial to note here, Rahul Gandhi, in fact, is leading this march, as you have various Congress leaders, as Arunima was pointing out, trying to move towards the Raisina Hill. There are also some of them sitting on a dharna. All of this in the backdrop of the summons that have been given to both Rahul Gandhi and now Sonia Gandhi as she continues that questioning with the Enforcement Directorate for the second time. The Congress has been saying that central, like the Enforcement Directorate, like the CBI, they are working at the behest of the central government. They're being misused. This is vendetta politics. Our political editor, Maria Shakil, also now joining us on the broadcast. Maria, good morning. This is a narrative that we've heard from the opposition before, that this is a central government that is not open to criticism and central agencies are being misused. How do you see this playing out as far as the monsoon session is concerned? Maria, can you hear me? Okay, we'll try and re-establish that connection with our political editor, but we continue to stay with those visuals coming in from the national capital. Rahul Gandhi leading that march towards the President's house. Various Congress leaders like KTS Tulsi, like P. Chidambaram, all of them protesting there. Some of them also now sitting on a dharna. My colleague and senior editor Pallavi Ghosh also now joining us on the broadcast. Pallavi, this is exactly what the Congress has been saying, and they continue to pull with that narrative that this is a central government that is not open to criticism. Central agencies are being misused. Before we get to that, could you just talk to us about the leaders that we are seeing as part of this protest today?
So all the MPs are very much there, senior leaders like Jairam Ramesh, and then there is N. Suresh, and there's K.C. Venugopal, Chidambaram. All of them who are actually also protesting inside the parliament, outside the Mahatma Gandhi statue, are the ones who decided to march up, present a memorandum, although they have no appointment, and of course addressing the media shortly. So the point that they are making, of course, is that the arbitrary attitude of the government, whether it's about suspension of the 4 Congress MPs or the way the misuse of ED and CBI are taking place, because the Gandhis have no case against them. There was no FIR which was filed in this case. And also the fact is an old case which has been brought up only because the Gandhis dare to question the Modi government, to use the words of the Congress party. And that's the point that they are making repeatedly through these protests on a day when she's going to be questioned, where in fact she's being questioned for the second day.
Pallavi, I also want to understand, though we are seeing all these Congress workers sitting on a dharna near the President's house, is there any clarity as far as an appointment is concerned?
If you could repeat the question, please, Rizma.
Pallavi, you can hear me this time around. I was essentially asking, as we continue to see these Congress leaders protest, but do we have any clarity as far as an appointment is concerned?
No, there's no appointment which has been given by the president and yet, and that's exactly what Congress told us. But I think it's more kind of a symbolic.
आवाज सुनी जाए, महंगाई रोकी जाए, जीएसटी का बड़ा टैक्स रोका जाए, ये जो सारी एजेंसीज का दुरुपयोग रोका जाए. अब उसके बाद भी अगर आप नहीं सुनते हो, तो ये तो तानाशाही में होता है.
प्रमोद जी, संसद के अंदर
प्रमोद जी, अब ये चीज है कि प्रधानमंत्री ने कहा है कि अपोजिशन करना एक पार्टी या एक इंडिविजुअल के खिलाफ ऐसा ना हो कि देश के खिलाफ अपोजिशन हो.
प्रधानमंत्री यही बात सदन में आके क्यों नहीं बोलते हैं, सदन से क्यों शर्माते हैं? वो सदन के प्रति उत्तरदायी हैं. भारत का संविधान प्रधानमंत्री को उत्तरदायी बनाता है. यहाँ क्यों नहीं बोलते?
पार्लियामेंट अब से थोड़ी देर पहले.
So we continue to stay with those visuals coming in, as I pointed out, from the national capital. Congress leaders protesting once again, as you have Sonia Gandhi, who continues with her questioning for the second time with the Enforcement Directorate in the backdrop of the National Herald case. Now, what is the Congress essentially saying? They're saying this is a witch hunt, this is vendetta politics. Today, agencies are working at the behest of the central government, and they in fact are being misused. I believe my colleague Pallavi is now back with us, but Pallavi, this is where the criticism is coming in. Then when now the Prime Minister, who was then the Gujarat Chief Minister, when he was called in for questioning, none of this tamasha was seen on the grounds. So why is routine questioning be converted into a dharna for the Congress? Okay, we seem to be losing that audio of my colleague. We'll try and re-establish that. But as I was pointing out to you, that essentially the Congress is saying this is vendetta politics. Just because the Gandhis dare to raise their voice, today they're being clamped down in terms of this questioning, which according to the Congress is harassment, because the Congress has been saying this is not an old case, this has been going for the longest time, and their biggest point is that there is no scheduled offence, there is no FIR. So how are we seeing that questioning continue? Now, as part of the last questioning that we saw of Sonia Gandhi with the ED, we are also now understanding as means of sources that the ED had asked about 15 to 20 questions to Sonia Gandhi. The questions were linked to Associate Journal and Young India. Questions were majorly related to a money trail as well. The quizzing is also on the role of other Congress leaders, but we're also understanding that because Sonia Gandhi hasn't been keeping well, the ED went slow with their questioning, and she in fact was let go in a couple of hours, and today we're seeing that questioning continue. But ever since we saw the summons which were given to both Rahul Gandhi as well as Sonia Gandhi, we've seen Congress workers protest not just in the national capital but pan-India. There have been lathi charges in the past as well. There's been vandalism of public property as well. Just last week, we actually saw a car that was set on fire in Bengaluru as well. I believe Pallavi is now back with us. Pallavi, essentially I was trying to understand the criticism coming in from the BJP is that when other leaders were questioned, we didn't see this sort of protest on the ground. So are the Gandhis above the party?
Yes, and this narrative which the BJP also has been setting is that why is it that the Congress party and the Gandhis feel entitled? Everyone is same before the law, and if they have not done anything wrong, then they have nothing to worry about. They should just go in quietly, put forward their arguments, and then come back after the interrogation is over. But hitting the street and at times when the entire protest also becomes violent, as it became the last time round, this is something which the BJP has enough ammunition in its hands to attack the Congress party on.
So what is the rationale as far as these protests are concerned, Pallavi, then? Because this now seems to be becoming a pattern. When Rahul Gandhi is questioned, you see pan-India protests. Sonia Gandhi is someone, you see pan-India protests.
See, Ridhima, we cannot deny an opportunity, so to say, to any political party. I think the Congress party wants to make the point that because they ask questions of the government, their leaders, particularly the Gandhis, are being attacked. And it's a selective use of ED and CBI. I mean, if you listen to a press conference which the Congress did this morning, they said, the BJP becomes like a washing machine. Anyone who joins in from another party, even if there are charges of corruption against them, suddenly becomes very clean. But the only problem which happens here on Congress, which is why I see a change in their tone in the latest letter which we are putting out, our joint opposition letter, is that they have often been accused of protesting and hitting the streets only when it comes to Gandhis. On people's issues like price rise, GST slab, all of that they don't hit the ground on. So this time round they are trying to club all the issues to make the larger point that they are all linked to each other, and therefore we do take up people's issues as well.
Right. We'll just talk about that letter also in just a bit. But before that, Pallavi, I also want to understand the other criticism also coming in is that this is also now becoming a law and order situation. This is meting out a lot of inconvenience to the common people.
See, they're calling it a satyagraha, and satyagraha by its meaning actually means that it has to be peaceful. It certainly wasn't the last time round. We saw tires being deflated, buses being burned. I think that's the reason why they tried to have a change of strategy today. The protests were largely limited to within the Congress headquarters and from Parliament to go up to Rashtrapati Bhavan. But that is what I'm talking about, a national capital. There are protests across the country. We'll have to wait to watch to see, Ridhima, whether they're able to rein in their party workers. As long as the people don't get inconvenienced, no one has a problem with political parties protesting. But if people's daily routine life is inconvenienced, they're not able to go to the place of work, as the case may be, that's where any sympathy which the Congress party hopes to gain gets lost.
Yeah, and Pallavi, I'll just request you to stay on with us. I believe certain leaders are now being detained as well. We continue to stay with those visuals. Some sort of a clash happening with police officials who are trying to contain the situation on the ground. And this is exactly what I was discussing with Pallavi, that this is now becoming a law and order situation. Our colleague Arunima was also pointing out that this is now turned into an entire fortress, which is now raising a lot of questions, that why is routine questioning being turned into a law and order situation. I believe my colleague Arunima is also now back with us. Arunima, I can see some leaders being detained as well, the police trying to contain the situation. Could you give us a sense of what's happening around you? Arunima, can you hear me?
You guys are...
Arunima, can you hear me this time around? Okay, we'll try and reestablish that connection with my colleague Arunima, but Pallavi continues to be with us. Pallavi, I'm not sure if you're seeing the kind of visuals that we're putting out on our screens where we can see some leaders being detained, the police having a hard time trying to contain the situation. The larger question is, if there was any sort of sympathy that the Congress was hoping to get, that will be lost with all of this.
Now, Parliament is standing at this point of time. And in fact, right in front of me, Ridhima, I can see all those police vans where the police are actually taking away the protesting MPs from here who try to go up to Rashtrapati Bhavan, trying to give a submission of that memorandum, also to the Rashtrapati. And now because this is Section 144 in place, this is a high security area, they are certainly not going to be allowed to be protesting over here. So from standing where I am just outside the Parliament, I can see all of them actually being put in, the buses are putting into order. The police has completely cordoned off the entire area, and then slowly each and every leader is actually being put inside the bus.
Pallavi, I'll just request you to stay on with us. Our colleague Anshul is also now joining us. Anshul, could you first give us a sense of what you're seeing around you?
So yes, I'll just show you in the visuals. These are the Congress MPs who are now being detained by the police. They had just walked out of the gate of the parliament and they were trying to reach the Rashtrapati Bhavan, but they have been stopped midway. If you can see in the visuals, there is massive security deployment over here. Arguments are ongoing between the police officials and the MPs who are present here. They wanted to go to the president to give them the memorandum in which they had said that the parliament is not being allowed to function. As you can see in the visuals over here, these are the MPs actually trying to reach Parliament House, but they have been stopped from entering anywhere, getting anywhere close to that. If you could see in the visuals, there is massive security deployment. Not only the police officials, but also Rapid Action Force and CRPF. All of them have been deployed over here. Jairam Ramesh is here. Sir, can I get in a word from you? So the MPs are being detained over here. Rashtrapati sir, what do you have to say on this?
See, we are more than 80 members of parliament, and it was our desire that we meet the President of India and convey to her our feelings as to what is happening in India today. And unfortunately, the dictatorial attitude of Modi government, everybody has seen here. The parliament.
For the last several days, we have been trying to raise the issue of GST, price rise, inflation. There is no opportunity.
Sir, but the government is saying that the opposition is not allowing the parliament to function, and hence it is being a very big expense for the exchequer. Now opposition is not allowing the parliament to function. So how do you see this?
See, it is the Congress party which has laid the foundations of democratic India. We have laid several democratic traditions which have allowed free and fair discussion in parliament. But this government has not been allowing the opposition to express.
Sure, sir. So here you can see in the visual, Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary is also being detained. He's just been put inside. The leader of opposition and especially the leader of the Congress party in the Lok Sabha is now being detained by the police. He has been forced inside this police vehicle. Now this police vehicle will be taken away from here. So yes, a massive commotion over here. The police is trying to get hold of the situation over here, get hold of the security situation over here. But yes, the MPs who have gathered over here are in no mood to back down as of now. So yes, there is still some commotion happening over here. I'll just ask my camera person Chintan to come out and show you over here in the visuals. The discussions are ongoing with the senior police officials are still discussing the whole matter with the police, but still you can see there is absolute commotion over here. Hundreds of police officials have gathered over here. They are just trying to convince these MPs to not move forward as they do not have the requisite permissions to reach to the Parliament House, to reach to the President House. But yes, there is absolute commotion that has happened over here. The Congress MPs are not backing down at any cost. They are making sure that the point is made across, that the point of meeting the president and telling them, and as being alleged by the Congress due to the government's inability to discuss important issues such as GST. So yes, Dipendra Hooda is currently here. He's trying to speak to the senior officials of the police.
Okay, so as my colleague Anshul was pointing out, a lot of commotion there on the ground, a lot of leaders being detained by the police as well. Say that they will in fact continue what the Congress is calling a satyagraha. My colleague and senior editor Pallavi is also now back with us. Pallavi, what are you picking up? What is the larger plan as far as the Congress is concerned?
Well, if you can see right behind me, there are those police vans which are just stationed over here. And in fact, one particular van you can already see. I don't know if you're getting those pictures where posters of Sonia Gandhi have been put up. And those MPs are very much over there. Earlier, they are the Punjab MPs. I can see Manikam Tagore also, for that matter, very much over here. And he is also being taken away in the police van. As we've been saying, Section 144 is really in place over Ridhima. So inside and outside Parliament, you're not allowed to have an assembly of so many people. And I think the Congress leaders wanted this. They wanted to be detained because that's up to Rashtrapati Bhavan, saying that even though we don't have any appointment with her, we are going to try and present that memorandum, and we've put out a copy of that memorandum. But we are also going to go to Vijay Chowk, where I'm sure the police is waiting for us. See, the point that they're going to be making with this detention of these MPs is that how the government misuses its agencies, uses the police to target their political opponents. They, as a political party, as an opposition party, have every right to protest. And you can slowly see, for example, those. If you can get those pictures, you can slowly see the vans of the MPs being taken away, and there are a couple of vans right behind me outside of Parliament. But the rest of the MPs, of course, are going to start taking away. In fact, I can start seeing the movement of the Delhi police van. So slowly, they're going to take in all those MPs who have been protesting over here into those vans which are parked just right behind me, take them to the police station, and of course, they're likely to be detained for the rest of the day.
So, Pallavi, you were mentioning that letter that has been written by the joint opposition. I believe it's claiming that the government is stalling Parliament by not allowing debate on price rise, GST, others. They're also alleging misusing central agencies. Could you give us more details of the letter that has been written?
Well, yes, in that letter, it's very interesting because, one criticism which was made of the Congress party is that the only time they hit the streets is when it comes to the issue of the Gandhis. This time round, if you look at the beginning of the letter, it does talk about how the people are being burdened with GST, price rise, and how the government doesn't want a discussion on that. And also, there are 4 MPs have been suspended. But again, mixed with that, they've added on to the point that is because the government's focus only happens to be the targeting of their political opponents and how the investigative agencies are being used. No focus only on the Congress party, because remember, whether it's Shiv Sena, whether it's the NCP, whether it's the Trinamool Congress, all of them are facing ED heat. Congress senses that this is one issue on which the opposition can show its unity and they can come together. And that's what the letter is all about. The letter does talk about the fact that how the entire process, investigative agencies have been misused. So the signatories over there are from, of course, the Trinamool Congress, from the NCP, from the DMK, and from the Shiv Sena. And just to give you a quick update before I come back to you, Ridhima, all buses have been put here in line, and all those MPs who are trying to march up to Rashtrapati Bhavan are now going to be detained, and this entire area is now, of course, being cordoned off.
Pallavi, I'll just request you to stay on with us. Our colleague Arunima has also filed this report for us. Let's quickly take a look.
So this is the sit-in protest of the Congress party members here. You can see the Congress protest, all of them sitting in, and
हमारा प्रयास यही है.
Some of them are raising slogans against others are making.
हमारी डिमांड ये थी कि सदन में महंगाई पर दुरुपयोग बंद हो, ईडी, सीबीआई, इनकम टैक्स.
Also, Adil Ranjan Chaudhary, Gaurav Gogoi,
लेकिन
Jayate is the poster.
इस बीच में देखते हैं कि
सर क्या प्रोटेस्ट है आप लोगों का, किस मुद्दे पे यहाँ बैठ गए आप लोग?
ये सोनिया जी को आज ईडी ने वापस बुलाया है, उसको रिहाई करने के लिए, और ये लोकतंत्र के खिलाफ है. वो ये मुद्दा है. दूसरा महंगाई का मुद्दा है. तीसरा लोकसभा के अंदर जो हमारे एमपीज को सस्पेंड किया है उसको वापस लिया जाए. ये हमारे 3 मुद्दे हैं.
सर आप यही क्यों बैठ गए हैं?
हम प्रेसिडेंट को मेमोरेंडम देना चाहते हैं. ईडी का मिसयूज हो रहा है. सदन के अंदर भी लोगों की आवाज नहीं उठ रही और बाहर भी आवाज नहीं उठाने दी जा रही. आप देखो, पुलिस छावनी में सारा तब्दील कर लिया. हमने कल बोला था हमें राजघाट पे सत्याग्रह करने दीजिए, लेकिन इन्होंने वहां इजाजत नहीं दी. वहां कोई रोड नहीं रुकनी थी, साइड रोड पे बैठ के सत्याग्रह करना था, किसी को कोई तकलीफ नहीं आनी थी. लेकिन जानबूझकर ये सरकार दुरुपयोग कर रही है अपनी ताकत का.
तो कब तक यहाँ बैठेंगे सर आप लोग?
यहाँ ही धरना देंगे हम, लगातार यहीं देंगे, लगातार यहीं.
So very angry Congress party there. They're saying that they will continue to be here and they will not move here. सर आप detain कर रहे हैं?
हेलो
सर क्या आप detain कर रहे हैं इनको? All right, so the police officials here being very tight-lipped, not saying much about what their future course of action could be. Congress adamant that they will continue to sit here on dharna and not move. Meanwhile, all signs that police could detain them and move them away. The buses have been kept ready. You could well see, all right, the detention has begun. Congress leaders being taken into the buses there by the policemen on duty here. They're being brought in one by one. Sir. All right, there's a scuffle going on inside the bus. The Congress MPs there saying that they will continue to protest, and those are the scenes that we have for you from here.
That my colleague Arunima was getting for us. Our colleagues Pallavi and Anshul continue to be with us. Pallavi, could you first give us an update of which are these leaders that have been detained so far?
Tagore, I saw the Punjab MP Aulia, all of them sitting inside the bus. And I also saw Jyotimani, also the Kerala MP who was suspended yesterday, inside the bus. And if you can see those pictures right behind me, there's obviously two Delhi police buses which have been kept parked. And of course, all the police is over here. This entire area has been cordoned off. And there is
Pallavi, I apologize for interrupting. I just quickly want to get in my colleague Nikhil also, who's getting us an update from outside the AICC. I believe, Nikhil, could you talk to us about what you're seeing around you?
So, Ridhima, we are currently reporting from outside AICC headquarters, 24 Akbar Road, and suddenly the youth leaders of the Congress party, they have come out of the AICC, who are now being detained by the Delhi police. Clearly, you can see the commotion outside the AICC office. They were peacefully sitting inside. They were holding the protest. They were singing the slogans. But now gradually it has turned violent, and the tussle can be seen between the Delhi police. Personal security deployment is already here. There is, a good amount of security deployed from the Delhi police, and also the central agencies. They have also deployed their personals. But now the youth leader, particularly from the Indian Youth Congress, the IYC chief, President Srinivas BV, who is also here. You can clearly see many of the leaders of the Congress party, youth leaders, they are sloganeering. In fact, they are protesting outside the AICC office. They are having a tussle. This is the pressure being put by the Congress workers, and now they are gradually being detained by the Delhi police personals. So clearly you can see these are the visuals. On one side of the Vijay Chowk, we have seen that how the MPs of the Congress party, they were detained, and now these are the visuals from outside the AICC office. Remember, at about 11 a.m., Sonia Gandhi, who was set to appear before the ED officials, she already left from the back door. And this is the exact road on 21st of July, last Thursday, when the commotion took place, because this is the route which was taken by the Gandhi family. But today, unlike Thursday, the different route was taken by the Gandhi family, and they have already reached to the ED officials. But now the commotion can be seen, the disturbance can be seen from outside the AICC office. Clearly, you can see the leaders of the Congress party, they are being detained from outside the AICC headquarters. Many of the buses, they have been kept at standby mode by the Delhi police personnel, because they were aware of the fact that somewhere or the other the Congress party worker will create a commotion. This is the reason why the heavy security deployment was seen here since morning. And if we tell you about the
so as Nikhil is pointing out, there is a lot of commotion outside the AICC headquarters as well. Let me quickly go back to my colleague Anshul, who's reporting for us from Vijay Chowk. So there's commotion happening in different parts of the national capital. Anshul, first give us an update of the leaders who've been detained so far.
So yes, at least 18 MPs from the Congress party had come out here to protest and register their protest against the government and not letting the parliament function. But as you can see in the visuals currently, Rahul Gandhi is the only person who has been allowed to stay out as of now, because he is the VIP, and the kind of security that he carries with him, that security is currently not allowing police to get near him. But yes, the other senior leaders, I'll try and get in a word from the other senior leaders who have been taken into custody. The likes of Dipendra Hooda and other leaders have already been taken into custody, and they are currently being taken in this police van from here. I'll just try and get in a word from sir. दीपेंद्र सर, आपको यहाँ डिटेन कर लिया गया है, पुलिस आपको कहाँ लेके जा रहे हैं? कुछ इन्फॉर्मेशन दी है पुलिस ने? सर, पुलिस ने कुछ इन्फॉर्मेशन दी आपको? So yes, these buses are being filled with leaders one after the other. These buses are leaving from here, and as you can see, buses are now coming in. So yes, Rahul Gandhi is the only person who is still here, and the police is trying to even drag him away right now. You can see in the visuals over here, massive commotion right outside the gates of the parliament and outside the gates of the Rashtrapati Bhavan. More and more police buses are being brought here, making sure that none of the MPs are being allowed to take forward their march, and that is the reason why we are seeing such heavy commotions. We just tried to get in a word from Rahul Gandhi, but he has been tight-lipped as of now, although he has said that the manner in which that the government is trying to use central agencies is definitely wrong, and this is the only thing that he had to say to the press just a few minutes ago. So yes, absolute commotion outside the gates of the parliament and outside the gates of Rashtrapati Bhavan, and that is why we are seeing so much pushing that is happening. A new police vehicle has also come over here. The older vehicles have already been filled with all the leaders who had come out to protest, and just in the next few minutes we might as well see Rahul Gandhi being detained from outside the Parliament House here at Vijay Chowk. So yes, Ridhima, back to you.
Right, so as Anshul is pointing out, massive commotion there at Vijay Chowk. Most of the leaders who were out protesting of the Congress party, they have now been detained. We've seen these buses being moved away from Vijay Chowk as well. The only person on the ground currently is Rahul Gandhi, who in fact is also now being moved as far as the police is concerned. But there's commotion not just at Vijay Chowk, but there's commotion outside the Congress headquarters in the national capital as well. There also you have buses on standby. You have the youth workers, I believe, protesting there as well. Why are we seeing these scenes on our screens? Because the Congress workers continue to protest against what they call a witch hunt and vendetta politics by the central government, misuse of these agencies like the CBI and ED. All of this happening in the backdrop of two crucial things. One, of course, is that questioning that continues of Sonia Gandhi with the Enforcement Directorate, and secondly is the monsoon session that still continues in the parliament. The Congress has been saying that the government is muscling all voices of dissent and criticism. My colleagues Anshul and Pallavi continue to be with us. Pallavi, let me come to you first. From the first time we saw these protests break out, the Congress had called it a satyagrah, but the visuals that we're seeing on our screens also bring a different picture. But first, we can now see Rahul Gandhi on our screens. As I pointed out, this is coming in from Vijay Chowk in the national capital. Pallavi, if you could talk to us about what is happening.
Right behind me, in fact, the entire security of Rahul Gandhi has been lined up, and if you can see this vehicle right behind me, that's the one which has been parked over here. Two buses have already gone. One bus is already kept in station over here, so we're going to wait to see whether Rahul Gandhi actually goes inside this bus or whether he goes inside the vehicle. I think it also becomes a show of strength really for Rahul Gandhi if the entire party colleagues have been detained. And it's not going to be the first time where he has been detained while protesting on the ground, whether it's on the price rise issue, on the GST issue, or in multiple other issues as well. Behind me, for example, you can see this bus which has been full of police personnel inside. His security staff is also standing right outside over here. And of course, this car has also been stationed. I know he's a high security risk for that matter. And but all arrangements are certainly being made. And I think in a short while from now, we're going to get a clarity whether he goes away in his car or whether he's going to be sitting in the bus.
Pallavi, I'll request you to stay on with us. Our colleague Arunima also now joining us. Arunima, so we can see Rahul Gandhi also sitting on Dharna. Could you explain to our viewers of what is happening? Is there a possibility that he could be also taken in one of those buses, or will he move in his own security vehicles?
Well, he will have to be taken away. Whether he's convinced by the Delhi police officials that this is the Section 144 area, Parliament is in session, when the monsoon session is happening, what is this road all about? This is the main road which takes you to the Parliament House. On the other side is the construction going on of the new building. So if the MPs have to come in, if the officials have to come in, this is the main road, and that's where they're sitting and barricading it. So the police officials and the paramilitary officials trying to convince the Congress leaders, including Mr. Gandhi, that please cooperate with us and do not obstruct movement towards the main gate of Parliament House. But the Congress leaders I have been speaking to said that they have nothing against these policemen and women who are doing their duty, but the way the entire paraphernalia of central agencies, central paramilitary forces and central police are being misused, their protest is against that. Some of them carried a placard saying Satyameva Jayate with Sonia Gandhi's poster on it. These vehicles that you're seeing are parked in a way that they can't move ahead. So if Rahul Gandhi has to move in his own vehicle, these police vehicles have to be moved and a way given to him. As of now, it appears to be a standoff. Congress leaders adamant that they will not move from here, but their numbers have considerably gone down in the last 20 minutes or so. Now the standoff is between Mr. Rahul Gandhi and the senior police officials here.
Right. So, Arunima, what about the other MPs who were also protesting? Have all of them now been detained and taken away? And do we have any idea where they've been taken away to?
Well, most of them have been taken away. I mean, I think I can see now more men and women in uniform than men and women in white, the traditional colors that members of parliament wear when the house is in session. Most of them have been taken away. But Rahul Gandhi is sitting on a dharna there, refusing to budge. And there are, of course, other senior leaders. I think I also saw Gaurav Gogoi being pushed into one of the vehicles a short while back. But Mallikarjun Kharge was there. Jairam Ramesh was there. Not speaking to the media much, but Jairam Ramesh was present there. There were other, senior leaders as well, Mr. Tankha and Mr. Chidambaram, senior members of the party, members of parliament from Rajya Sabha. So I think they continue, some of them continue to be there. But like Pramod is showing you the visuals, the entire area has now been ghered out. There are 2 police vehicles parked there. There's one white vehicle which belongs to Mr. Rahul Gandhi, which is also on this side of the barricade. The numbers are much less now than what we saw, and the police is hoping that by explaining to Mr. Gandhi, once he has made his point, he will be convinced that this road cannot be obstructed, and he must, along with the other colleagues from the Congress party, clear this area.
Okay, Arunam, I'll just request you to stay on with us. Our colleague Pallavi is also now joining us live. Pallavi, a short while ago you were pointing out that all these leaders were holding plaques of Sonia Gandhi. Could you explain to us what was written on the plaques? What is the solidarity that we're seeing being given by the Congress to Sonia Gandhi?
In fact, I'm just going to give you a quick update, which of course we all have been giving here. This bus over here, which you see, has been stationed. There's a vehicle of Rahul Gandhi also, which has been kept on standby. So we are going to see how he goes and how is he detained and which vehicle he really goes to. It's been a kind of a security nightmare for his security personnel as well, because obviously he being a VVIP. But it was interesting because when the first van which went away, I noticed that there was a placard of Sonia Gandhi, which was put very much over there. The joint opposition letter does talk about price rise, GST, but clearly the focus of the Congress party today is also on the fact that there is no FIR and how the ED and the CBI has been repeatedly misused by the government only because the Gandhis raised their voice against them. And therefore, the posters were being carried by all the MPs who have been detained and have taken to a nearby police station.
Pallavi, I'll request you to stay on with us. Our colleague Anshul also now joining us. Anshul, so as Pallavi is pointing out, this is now becoming a security nightmare for the security personnel of Rahul Gandhi. Delhi police officials trying to speak to Rahul Gandhi. Are we seeing any movement?
No, not as of now. All the leaders who had come out here of the Congress party have now been detained, is what I can confirm to you. I cannot see any other Congress leader on the ground as of now, but only Rahul Gandhi, who is sitting here, who has managed to sit down on a dharna, and the security personnel of Rahul Gandhi have surrounded him, making sure that Delhi police is not allowed to reach anywhere close to him. And that is the reason why we are seeing senior police officials of the Delhi police, be it the DCP of Central Zone, have time and again come out and are trying to speak to Rahul Gandhi to move away from the spot and trying to explain to him the security significance of this area, because remember, as Arunam and Pallavi have rightly been pointing out, that this is one of the most high security zones in the entire country. On one side there is the Parliament of India, and on the other side there is the Rashtrapati Bhavan. So yes, it is one of the most high security zones that we are seeing over here, and the tussle is continuing between Rahul Gandhi and the police officials. The police officials are making not even letting now media to get anywhere close to Rahul Gandhi. They are making sure that at the earliest Rahul Gandhi should be contained from here and should be removed from here. But it remains to be seen, will the police manage to detain him, or will Rahul Gandhi be allowed to let go? That is the big question over here. But you can see in the visuals behind me, the commotion is still continuing. The pushing and pulling is still continuing. Rahul Gandhi is sitting on a dharna right here outside Vijay Chowk. Now in the next few minutes, as the senior police officials of the Delhi police are still trying to talk to Rahul Gandhi and convince him to move away from this location. But Rahul Gandhi seems to be really very adamant as of now, and he's not ready to move from here. Just a few minutes ago, as we tried to get in a word from Rahul Gandhi, he said that the manner in which the government is not allowing the parliament to function, and in fact using central agencies to harass leaders, is the reason why he wanted to meet the president, and he is saying that he will not go back until and unless he is allowed to meet with the president. However, all the other senior leaders have now been taken away from here, be it the likes of Dipendra Hooda or Digvijay Singh. We also saw Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary. All of them have been detained, and if you can see in the visuals behind me, this is the bus that has now been parked over here. At least 2 buses full of MPs have already been dispatched from Vijay Chowk, and this is the 3rd bus that has been put over here. Now a cordon off has been made over here. Okay. The MPs would not be allowed to move towards the parliament as well. If you could see, the barricades have been made.
So Rahul Gandhi is still sitting on a dharna, officials talking to him on the ground. Anshul, I request you to stay on with us, getting some reactions coming in as well.
आज हम लोग सांसद सब महामहिम राष्ट्रपति जी को एक ज्ञापन देने जा रहे थे कानून के और जो जांच एजेंसियां हैं उनके दुरुपयोग के विरुद्ध, और सभी सांसदों को गिरफ्तार कर लिया गया है और जो न्यू पुलिस लाइंस है किंग्सवे कैंप, वहां पे लेके जाया जा रहा है। आज आज हम लोग सांसद सब महामहिम राष्ट्रपति जी को एक ज्ञापन देने जा रहे थे कानून के और जो जांच एजेंसियां हैं उनके दुरुपयोग के विरुद्ध, और सभी सांसदों को गिरफ्तार कर लिया गया है और जो न्यू पुलिस लाइन्स है किंग्सवे कैंप वहाँ पे लेके जाया जा रहा है।
So that was detained Congress MP Manish Tiwari there, recording a video of himself from the bus in which all of these leaders have been detained. Again, reiterating the fact that agencies today are being misused. We continue to get you visuals of Rahul Gandhi, who continues to sit on a dharna at Vijay Chowk, now becoming a nightmare as far as the security officials on the ground are concerned. Pallavi, Anshul, Arunama all continue to be with us. Pallavi, let me come to you first. Have we heard anything so far from Rahul Gandhi, or has this been a silent protest?
Well, he's been there. He has been, I'm just getting you those pictures once again. Well, he's sitting on the dharna. And I think sometimes in politics, you know, just the silence or silently trying to make a point is what I think he hopes is able to put forward the point that he's been trying to make. He's bang in the middle of the road which leads up to Parliament House. The Parliament, of course, has been adjourned. But, you know, apart from Section 144 being in place, this is the area also from which the VVIPs also travel here. The cavalcade also goes away. Goes from here. In fact, I'm just going to try and give you a sense for our viewers who perhaps don't get to see this very carefully. But so right behind me is a parliament. I'm trying to give you a sense, Ridhima, about why it becomes a security nightmare for all the officials who guard this area. So this is the parliament right behind me. This is one of the roads which leads out from parliament, and this is the other road which leads out from parliament where the VVIPs go from. And if you move right over here, this is where the Rashtrapati Bhavan goes to, and this is exactly one of the roads which leads out of parliament where Rahul Gandhi is on dharna on. And therefore, for the police officials over here, there are two worries. One, of course, is the worry is what if the VVIPs from parliament want to come out from the and how will they go, because they're going to be blocked by Rahul Gandhi who's sitting on dharna. And second, of course, he has been an SPG protectee. He's a VVIP also, and he has a security cordon around him. So for them also, this is also a security nightmare. Of course, they are deliberating, discussing what is the best route out. Already on standby is one Delhi police vehicle, as you can see in front of me. Of course, Rahul Gandhi's vehicle is also on standby. So the police officials over here are hoping against hope that I can see some movement which is taking place. Anshul, of course, is very much here, but I can finally see some movement which is taking place. So I guess they are trying to ensure that Rahul Gandhi vacates that spot. If you can see the pictures which Umesh is getting for us, there is Rahul Gandhi right over there in the pictures, who's been accompanied by the Delhi police to go inside the bus. Very clear, Rahul Gandhi doesn't want to go, and he's only going to try and make that political point that how I'm being harassed by the Delhi police over here and forcibly being sent into a van. This is a redux moment, I would say, Ridhima, because if you remember earlier also when he and Priyanka Gandhi Vadra wanted to go to Hathras, at that point of time also there was a scuffle, and those pictures were very much used by the Congress party later on by way of placards, by way of hoardings to show that they are a tiger and they are tigress and how they take on the mammoth UP administration. So I suspect that the Congress party also is now going to place up the momentum very much over here. You can see the bus beginning to move over here. We are getting you those pictures. My camera person, Umesh Sharma, is very much over here. So you can see those pictures of the bus which has begun to move. Security personnel of Rahul Gandhi are very much inside the bus as well. Rahul Gandhi clearly did not want to board the bus, but of course, as I said, is Section 144 in place, and because of that, this entire area has been cordoned off. And because he's a high risk, because he's a VVIP protectee, that's also one of the reasons why not many are being allowed inside the bus. And you can see the movement of the bus which is going.
Let me just quickly go to Anshul as well. The big update is Rahul Gandhi being detained. Anshul, could you talk to us about what is happening around you?
So yes, Rahul Gandhi has been detained. This is the bus in which Rahul Gandhi has now been taken by the Delhi police officials, and the cordon off has now been removed from Vijay Chowk. As you can see in the visuals behind me, Rahul Gandhi is in that purple bus, and that bus has now moved away from Vijay Chowk. Now he's been taken to the police station. However, there's still no clarity. Will Rahul Gandhi be taken to the new police station lines or some other police station? That is still not very clear. However, the security personnel of Rahul Gandhi were along with him in that bus. He did not himself move from the roads. The police had to actually pick him up and put him inside the bus. Definitely Rahul Gandhi is giving a very strong political message, as Pallavi has been pointing out. The political message has been very, very clear now. You can see in the visuals behind me, the area has now been absolutely absolutely cleared by the police, and the security situation has been restored out here at Vijay Chowk. So at least 18 MPs of the Congress party who had come out here to go ahead and meet with the president of the country, they have not been allowed to do so. Their memorandum, they tried to give that memorandum, but they haven't been able to do so, and all the 18 MPs have now been detained by the Delhi police. All the senior leaders of the Congress party who were present here, be it the likes of Dipendra Hooda, Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary, Manish Tiwari, and then Rahul Gandhi, we saw just a few minutes ago being picked up by the police. So yes, the area has now been cleared off. If you can just show you the security, the amount of security that was present over here, the amount of police personnel that were present over here just to contain the situation and make sure that the situation doesn't go out of hand. So yes, the situation here at Vijay Chowk seems to be normalizing now as all the MPs have been removed. The cordon off area has been opened up, and now the
Those were visuals of Rahul Gandhi being detained. We saw that bus moving out as well. 18 Congress MPs have been detained. That entire area is now being cleared. Essentially, the protest is now over. You saw Rahul Gandhi sitting on a dharna and then eventually being detained, as well as my colleagues Pallavi, Arunam and Anshul have been pointing out. Now that entire area is being cleared. There was a heavy police bandobast on the ground. They tried to speak to Rahul Gandhi, telling him there is a section 144 in place, and eventually him being detained. Arunama is also now back with us. Arunama, could you first give us a sense of what you see around you? So essentially, is the protest over now?
Yes, Pramod, just show them that road just a couple of minutes back, Ridhima, you saw that road was full of, security personnel and media personnel because the Congress MPs were sitting on a dharna. Now it's all clear. That white bus on my right side, I'll just try to show you. That white bus is the last bus that was kept handy in case more people had to be detained. There was another one, a blue-colored bus in which Mr. Gandhi has been taken away just a minute ago. And now that entire area is being cleared of media personnel who had crossed over. Again, to re-emphasize what the security concern was, Parliament is in session. This is a high security zone. This is the only road which takes you towards the Parliament. And then this is the road which leads you to Rashtrapati Bhavan as well. So what the Delhi police tried explaining to Rahul Gandhi was 144 in place. You cannot, sit here on a dharna. It's a huge security risk. He, however, insisted that he's not going to move away on his own. Ultimately, he was forced inside the vehicle and he has been taken away. To which police station, whether the dharna will continue at whichever thana he's being taken away, that is what we are waiting and watching.
Arunama, quickly also, as you were rightly pointing out, the security concern was that Parliament is in session. I believe the update that we're also getting is that Lok Sabha now has been adjourned till about 2 p.m.
Yes, the Lok Sabha has been adjourned for the second time in the day. Both Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha saw sloganeering and protest. And this is yes, Lok Sabha has been adjourned to meet at 2 p.m. today is the confirmation that I have from the Lok Sabha Secretariat as well. What the BJP has been alleging, that even though Congress-led opposition has been putting up posters and banners about GST and price rise, showing the gas cylinder, that was the reason why 4 MPs of Congress party got suspended yesterday for the entire session. BJP alleges the real issue is Sonia Gandhi's questioning by the Enforcement Directorate, and they are showing these pictures as a proof of their charge, saying, look at them, they're sitting here outside the Parliament House. What are the banners and the posters they are carrying? And I can vouch for that one of the posters that was seen repeatedly was Satyameva Jayate with Sonia Gandhi's poster on it. So even if Congress wants to highlight the issue of GST, wants to highlight the issue of price rise, today at the center of their protest was their allegation, their charge of misuse of CBI and ED by the central government. Price rise took a backseat today.
Arunama, I'll request you to stay on with us. Our colleague Anshul is also now joining us. So Anshul, as Arunama was pointing out, essentially that protest is now over. We are now seeing the area being cleared and sanitized as well. Do we have any idea where the MPs and Rahul Gandhi have been taken?
So yes, Manish Tiwari had just a few minutes ago put out a video on Twitter where he said that he was being taken to the New Lines police station over here in the national capital. But however, Rahul Gandhi was detained alone, so it is not very clear where has Rahul Gandhi been taken, because what conventionally used to happen that the people who got detained from here were taken to the Sansad Marg police station. But over the past few months, we have been seeing that the Delhi police detaining the leaders from Central Delhi are not being taken into the Parliament Street police station, but are being taken to various other police stations in the entire national capital area. So yes, it is not very clear where has Rahul Gandhi gone. But yes, the other MPs, what we can tell you, has been taken to the New Lines police station is what we are being told. But still, there is no clarity where could the Delhi police have taken Rahul Gandhi. We might get some clarity on that in the next few minutes.
Okay, I quickly want to go back to Arunima also. Arunima, the larger issue is that the Congress has been calling this a satyagrah. But look at the visuals that we're seeing. Even look at the visuals that are coming in front of the AICC headquarters, clashing with the police officials, barricades being overthrown. Isn't this now becoming counterproductive?
I think that feedback was given to the Congress party, and therefore the protest outside the AICC, outside 10 Janpath on the Akbar Road was toned down today. They instead wanted to focus on this march from Parliament to the Rashtrapati Bhavan. This decision was taken shortly after the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha got adjourned this morning. They did not have, this is what we are told by Rashtrapati Bhavan officials, that they were not given an appointment. Draupadi Murmu, Madam President, has just taken over and they wanted an appointment with her. This appointment was not given, but nonetheless, they started their march from the left side. That's where the Parliament, building is, gate number 5 and gate number 12, of which brings you out from Rajya Sabha. So they came out of gate number 12 and then came out of the Parliament, started marching towards Rashtrapati Bhavan. On my left, if you see the incline, that's the Raisina Hill, which takes you to Rashtrapati Bhavan. Policemen and women here at Vijay Chowk, where we are standing, were given some inkling that this was being planned, but they were clearly not prepared enough, because the MPs marched, and right at this intersection, they sat down on a dharna when they realized police will not let them move ahead. But in no time, Delhi police has managed to clear this area. That security scare that police felt there existed, because what was happening was there was not just members of Parliament, there were a lot of media personnel, there were others also who were trying to mingle, even though paramilitary and Delhi police personnel were trying their best to look at the identification of people who were coming there. It was a challenge, so to say, and they were requesting the MPs to clear the area, especially a high security protectee like Rahul Gandhi. He enjoys paramilitary protection as well. So it was a challenge, but that challenge has been successfully resolved. This area is now clear. And that entire Vijay Chowk area, just as it was before the protest began, it now resembles that.
Right. Arunima, the larger issue also is what really is happening as far as this case is concerned. Now, of course, this is not a new case, it's an old case. Essentially, the Congress has been saying that there is no scheduled offence, there is no FIR. But the criticism here is, if there is nothing to hide, why not just cooperate as far as the questioning is concerned? Why convert it into a law and order situation?
So we put that question to Congress leaders, and they are saying that, we are cooperating, and that's why Sonia Gandhi, even though she's just recovered from COVID, there are health issues that she has gone ahead and answered the question. Jairam Ramesh, in fact, put out a soundbite after day one of the questioning, saying Sonia Gandhi had actually told ED officials, I am here to wait till 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night, till whatever time you want me to be waiting here, but I will answer all your questions. Jairam Ramesh claimed that it is the enforcement directorate officials who said that they did not want to ask anything further, and they requested her to come back the next week. Sonia Gandhi is back there, and Congress showcases that as proof that they are willing to cooperate with the agency. But at the same time, they're saying that we also want to highlight the issue of alleged vendetta politics, where all opposition leaders are being targeted by CBI, ED and IT just because ideologically they're on the opposite side of the spectrum from the ruling regime.
Right. Anshul also continues to report for us. So, Anshul, could you also now quickly give us a sense of what you're seeing around you? Is all activity now over? Is there any other work that you're picking up, or what the Congress plans to do right through the day?
So as of now, here at the at Vijay Chowk, the situation is absolutely normal. I'll just try and show you in the visuals over here. The normalcy has returned over here. For the past 1 hour, there was a lot of commotion that was happening over here. And just a few minutes ago, after Rahul Gandhi was picked up by the Delhi police and now has been taken into custody, the entire area is under control. The routes have been again put in place for VVIP movement, and the movement has also started. So yes, the police making sure that now not much time is being taken to sanitize the area and make sure that this stretch that leads into the parliament, because remember, all the MPs that go inside the parliament, all the work, go from this stretch right behind me that you see. So this was a very, very crucial area that was being encroached upon by the Congress workers who tried to went ahead and meet with the Rashtrapati. If you can see in the visuals, this is the route that they wanted to take right from the parliament. They wanted to come out here and go straight up this incline that you see, but however they were stopped approximately 100 meters ahead of it, and the police did not allow them to move any further for approximately half an hour. The Congress MPs sat on a dharna over here. It took almost half an hour to 45 minutes to clear the entire stretch. Now that Rahul Gandhi has been detained, it remains to be seen where has Rahul Gandhi been taken. Will he be taken to the location where the other MPs have been taken, or will he be taken into detention somewhere in isolation? That is not clear as of now. But yes, the situation here near Rashtrapati Bhavan at Vijay Chowk is now normal. Things have now fallen back in place. The routes are now in place, and the VIP movements have started from here.
Anshul, I just request you to stay on with us. Our colleague Nikhil is also now joining us, and he's been reporting for us from outside the AICC headquarters. So while normalcy is restored at Vijay Chowk, what is the situation like outside the Congress headquarters?
So Ridhima, outside the Congress headquarters, these are the visuals. I would urge my camera person Sumit Jaguri to show you the scenes from outside AICC 24 Akbar Road. There is heavy deployment of the security personnel, and in fact the paramilitary forces in two different forms, they have been deployed here, including CRPF and RAF. Also many of the vehicles have been put on standby for further arresting and detention outside the AICC office. A while back, the youth workers of the Congress party, they have been detained. In fact, IYC, who is the Indian Youth Congress President Srinivas BV, he has been detained by the Delhi police personnel, and it took 15 to 20 minutes, Ridhima, for a single person to be detained by the Delhi police, because he was very much intimidating on the Delhi police personnel. And now these are the scenes outside the AICC office. The police is trying to solve the matter. In fact, the workers have come out of the AICC office. Remember, since morning they were here, they gathered here despite the section 144 in place, but they anyhow managed to come inside the AICC office yesterday night. Only they spent their night, and now we can see Delhi Pradesh Congress Chief Anil Chaudhary. He is seen outside the AICC office against some kind of commotion. Can be seen on the screen of CNN News 18. The workers are gradually being detained. You can see the workers, women workers are also being detained by the Delhi police. The security forces have also been deployed here. We have told you earlier only, Ridhima, that section 144 is imposed in entire New Delhi district. There was no permission, and clearly you can see these are the visuals how women protesters are being detained by the paramilitary women forces. Gradually they will be taken to the nearby police station inside. In fact, she is the Ragini Nayak, prominent leader of the Congress party. These are the visuals how she is being detained, and police is finding it hard to detain each and every member, including the prominent member of the Congress party. Inside the AICC office already, Chief Minister of Rajasthan Ashok Gehlot, he is already present. Sachin Pilot is already there. In fact, other leaders as well from different units, different states, they have been deployed in other places as well. So gradually, they all are being taken in the detention of the Delhi police in the nearby police station. So these are the scenes, Ridhima, we are showing you from outside the AICC office. You can see, I would urge my camera person to take a look forward, and we will try to take a word from different leaders. But I guess Anil Chaudhary has been detained. So clearly these are the vehicles.
So as Nikhil is pointing out, there is still a lot of commotion outside the AICC headquarters. Some detentions that we're seeing there as well. But the situation turning normal as far as at least Vijay Chowk is concerned. Pallavi is now back with us. Pallavi, the larger issue, of course, is one of the use or no use that is being made as far as the parliament session is concerned. Why is the opposition wanting to miss this as an opportunity to raise their issues?
Well, I mean, I'm just putting out some more pictures, which obviously the Congress party has been sending out. And it's very, very clear, Ridhima, that the Congress party certainly wants to use this entire issue to make the larger point. And certainly Rahul Gandhi has already begun to say this. And I'm sure he's going to start tweeting in a short while from now on how this government doesn't want to listen to any opposition. How this government doesn't want to listen to any of the questions which are being asked of them, and certainly not want to give answers. You know, I think the Congress party is at pains to make the point, Ridhima, that these protests on the streets are not just about the Gandhis. It's actually also about the fact that how the people's issues are not being allowed to discuss inside the parliament, which perhaps explains why the letter which they wrote, the opposition letter which they wrote to the president as a form of a memorandum, also mentioned the GST, the price rise, and of course the arbitrary use of ED and the CBI. So there are a couple of things which are happening over here. They are mixing up the entire issue to make the larger point that what the government wants to do is not listen to the voice of reason, not listen to a voice which questions, and therefore anyone who dares to question is silenced by the use of the investigative agencies.
But you know, Pallavi, doesn't it then become counterproductive because we're seeing only these protests the day when Sonia Gandhi has been summoned? We're not seeing it any other day. As far as GST and price hike is concerned, we haven't seen similar protests over the past few weeks.
Yes, absolutely, which is why I'm saying that the Congress is at pains to make the point that this protest is not just about the Gandhis. There's a change of track. I remember when Rahul Gandhi was being questioned by the ED, the criticism, of course, of the Congress party was that you only hit the streets. You mobilize your cadre, your chief minister and top leaders are only seen inside the AICC because the Gandhis are involved. So in that meeting which took place last evening, they decided to go in for a peaceful satyagraha. No more hitting of the streets. Clearly, no one has listened to them. But protests inside the AICC headquarters, but the focus should also be on the fact that the Gandhis are being questioned because the questions were being raised of the Prime Minister and the government because the people's issues were being raised. But of course, you've seen the BJP's press conference. Each time the Gandhis go to the ED for questioning, they always make the point and the comparison that if the Prime Minister, when he was the Chief Minister of Gujarat, could go in quietly there, sit down and answer all the questions and then come out without creating a show, why is it that the Congress party cannot do so? If the Gandhis are correct, they have nothing to fear for, and therefore they can go in quietly and come out.
And the larger issue also, Pallavi, quickly is every day we're seeing the House being adjourned day after day. This was an opportunity for the opposition to try and corner the government, but we're seeing a repeat of what essentially played out even last year.
Well, to be fair, I mean, I think political parties do have a right to protest. And, I've covered Parliament even when the UPA was in power. And I still remember when the 2G scam broke out and the then opposition, which was the BJP, did want a joint parliamentary commission probe. And I remember the entire session was completely washed out. But having said that, it's always a pressure on the government to ensure the proceedings of the parliament goes on smoothly. And that's the reason why there have been repeated pressure by the Prime Minister himself after the all-party meeting, even on the first day of the monsoon session of Parliament. And of course by the Parliamentary Affairs Minister and by Mr. Piyush Goyal, who's the leader of the House in Rajya Sabha, repeatedly making the point that we are ready to debate and discuss. But first of all, the Finance Minister is unwell. And the second thing is the already slaughtered business has to be taken up first. And then we are going to take up a debate and discussion. So it's a missed opportunity for the opposition. As an opposition political party, I guess they think it's better to grab eyeballs and attention when you hit the streets.
Pallavi, quickly, I also want to understand, fair enough with the point that you're raising, that it is their right to protest and raise their voices. But has there been a response by the Congress as far as the vandalism that we've seen, even last time around and even in the recent protests that we saw last week?
Well, no, none at all, and that is which is inviting the criticism that, you talk about being a party which follows the ideals of Gandhi. You talk about a party which is leading a calm, a peaceful satyagraha. But how is it that you justify the tires being deflated, buses being burned, people are being inconvenienced? Mum's the word. I mean, the Congress party has not yet condemned it, but I think the Congress party also understood that they're running the risk of losing the support and sympathy of the people, which is why they tried to ensure that at least today there were no street protests which are taking place. Whatever protests took place outside Parliament and inside AICC.
Pallavi, also any word that you're picking up by means of sources of how the Congress is planning to build on this momentum of raising their voices?
Well, I mean, they've already started putting out pictures of Rahul Gandhi, and I'm sure they're going to use this to position him as the only person who actually takes on the Prime Minister and the Modi government. We're also going to wait for a tweet also to come in from, I guess, Rahul Gandhi himself. He's at
Pallavi, I apologize for interrupting, getting some live reactions.
का दुरुपयोग हो रहा है और सैद्धांतिक रूप से इसका विरोध कर रहे हैं।
राजघाट तक जाने की परमिशन आप लोगों को नहीं मिली?
अरे एमपीज को सस्पेंड कर रहे हैं, हमारे पूरे मुख्यालय को छावनी में तब्दील कर दिया है, राजघाट में जाने नहीं दे रहे हैं। तो लोकतंत्र में विरोध करने का भी अधिकार अधिकार छीन लेंगे, ये कहाँ, ये अच्छे संकेत थोड़ा हमारे लोकतंत्र के लिए। डेमोक्रेसी में अपनी बात रखने का, धरना करने का, प्रदर्शन करने का, ज्ञापन देने का, पदयात्राएं करने का हमारा मौलिक अधिकार है, उसको भी आप हमसे छीन लेंगे तो ये मैं समझता हूँ बहुत ही नकारात्मक संदेश पूरे देश में।
राजस्थान में भी आप लोग विरोध जता रहे हैं?
पूरे विरोध इस बात का है कि भारत सरकार ना तो चर्चा महंगाई पे कर रही है, ना बेरोजगारी पे कर रही है, संसद में चर्चा होने देते नहीं है, जवाब दे नहीं रहे। आज महंगाई आसमान छू रही है, लोग परेशान हैं, पीड़ित हैं, एग्रीकल्चर क्राइसिस आ रहा है पूरे देश के अंदर, और आपकी एजेंसी विरोधी जो दल हैं उनकी आवाज़ दबाने का काम कर रहे हैं। इसका विरोध हम कर रहे हैं।
Third from Sachin Pilot, essentially taking on the narrative of the Congress that today this is vendetta politics, this is a witch hunt. Agencies continue to be misused and the Congress will continue to raise its voices. We've seen a lot of drama today play out, first at Vijay Chowk, then in front of the AICC headquarters as well, which resulted in 18 MPs being detained. This of course included Rahul Gandhi as well. He was the last one to be taken away from Vijay Chowk. After that, we saw the area being cleared up by the police. There were clashes in front of the AICC headquarters as well. All of this in the backdrop of the questioning that continues with the Enforcement Directorate of Sonia Gandhi for a second time around. If Pallavi is still with us, Pallavi, I apologize for interrupting. Essentially, I was trying to understand how is the Congress planning to build on this momentum?
Well, I mean, as I said, they've already started putting out pictures of Rahul Gandhi and project him as a champion who fights for the rights of the people. Having said that, I'm sure when Rahul Gandhi begins to tweet, the Congress party over the next few days have always been projecting themselves as a party which believes in satyagraha and that they are not scared. The fact is that Sonia Gandhi willfully goes to an ED. She's being questioned despite the fact that she's not well, to use the words of the Congress party, is exactly the kind of narrative the party would want to build up.
Pallavi, this is Akanksha, and before I wrap up the bulletin, I'd really like you to tell us what can we expect now in terms of these fast-paced developments that have taken place. We can see visuals of Rahul Gandhi over there now being detained. What do we expect next, and for how long is the protest now going to take place?
See, the detention is a matter of procedure because, Section 144 is very much in place, has been in place because it's outside the Parliament area, and therefore Rahul Gandhi being detained was expected. Well, there was a moment when there were two buses which left detaining the members of Parliament who were protesting, but Rahul Gandhi insisted on being sitting on dharna. See, it was not an easy call really for Delhi police, and we did see those deliberations taking place, and during those deliberations, it's a security nightmare for them. He's a VVIP special protectee as well. There was the Delhi police special van which was kept on a standby, and inside that van was of course his security personnel. His own personal car was also kept on standby, and we are seeing those pictures which have been put out by the Congress party where he's clearly trying to be shown as a tiger, to use the words of the Congress party, who's taking on the might of the Modi government, and that, to use the words of Rahul Gandhi himself a short while back, that this is only about Modi, this is not about the people of the country. They've actually tried to craftily link the fact that they wanted a debate and discussion on price rise and GST, but 4 MPs were suspended, to the fact that the focus of the government is not to answer the questions being asked by the people, but actually to use the investigative agencies to target those who are trying to facilitate this questioning of the Modi government.
Right, Pallavi. Thank you for bringing in all those details. We'll keep a close watch on everything that's happening in the Parliament. For now, let's also go across to some breaking inputs coming in. There's been an FIR registered against actor Ranveer Singh for his naked photo shoot. The FIR was registered at the Chembur police station in Mumbai. Section 292, 293, 509 of the IPC and under the IT Act. So that's the latest we are bringing to you. Remember, just a few days ago, the Ranveer Singh's naked photo shoot broke the internet. While some found it very bold and brave, there were many who called it as indecent. Even the FIR that has been lodged in the Chembur police station of Mumbai states the reason as hurting the sentiments of women. That's the latest we are bringing to you. There's been an FIR against actor Ranveer Singh for his naked photo shoot and for allegedly hurting the sentiments of women. That's what the FIR
against actor Ranveer Singh, says the FIR has been lodged at the Chembur police station in Mumbai. Remember, this is the much talked about naked photo shoot that we are talking about. We've seen Ranveer Singh pose naked on a Turkish carpet in this photo shoot. For more details, I am joined in by our correspondent Herman Gomes. Herman, if you could take us through what is the controversy, who has filed this FIR at the Chembur police station, what are the sections that we are looking at?
Well, in fact, this complaint was registered officially at the Chembur police station yesterday, and currently it has now been converted into an FIR where under section 292, 293 of the IPC have been slapped against him, as well as 509. Besides that, there are also various sections of the IT Act that have been slapped against the actor Ranveer Singh. Now, if one clearly looks at 292, to just walk you through, it speaks about, as far as the books, pamphlets, paper writing, drawing, paintings, etc., representation figure, or any other objects which are deemed to be obscene or to be seen as appealing to the prudent interest or effect, where it comprises of two or more distinct items, the effect of one of its depraved and corrupt person, unquote. So these are the sections. So clearly stating that this photo shoot that was done, it has been now the FIR that has been slapped. The purpose of the photo shoot was for a magazine, is what we are being told, and because it relates to the same of obscene article, obscene pictures, I beg your pardon, you have now an FIR that has been filed. Now, besides that, he had also posted the pictures on his Instagram account, which is also mentioned in this FIR. Yesterday, it was said that it was hurtful to several sentiments, including of the women too, when the official complaint was filed. But today now you have an FIR being filed. Now, as far as will he be arrested or will he be questioned, I've spoken to some of my sources from within the Mumbai police, and what they're saying at this point in time, with very limited details, is that they are still investigating the matter, and yes, as and when required, his statement could also be recorded. But as far as arrest is involved, as of now, it has been ruled out by the Mumbai police, at least for now.
All right, stay with us, Herman, because we have a lot going on. We also are going to now open our call-in lines and pose this big question to all our viewers. Share your views with us. The question is, does nude Ranveer hurt your sensibilities? That's the question we are posing to you, and the number is 0120-434-1895. Does nude Ranveer hurt your sensibilities? Call in and share your views with us. Remember, some find this as a very bold and brave photo shoot. At the same time, many have been hurt by this photo shoot, saying that this hurts the sentiments of women. For more details, let's also go across to Ananya, who is our legal correspondent. Ananya, if you could tell me in detail what the legal hurdles, or rather the legal troubles, are going to be for Ranveer Singh, because we understand that under sections 292, 293, 509 of IPC, the FIR has been lodged. If you could take me through what that means.
Well, yes, 292 and 293 basically relates to the sale and purchase of, in fact, obscene material, which includes nudity, semi-nudity, and hence these are the sections that have been invoked against Mr. Ranveer Singh, who was seen recently in a bold photo shoot, which is being called very brave by a lot of people. But then, from a legal perspective, he can be booked under 292 and 293 IPC and certain, in fact, sections of the IT Act as well, because remember that this photo shoot was on Instagram, and hence the IT rules come in, the IT Act comes into play. So FIR legal troubles are mounting on Ranveer Singh. Apart from that, a legal notice has also been sent by a social worker saying he was deeply hurt with this, in fact, the photo shoot that's been done by Ranveer Singh, calling it completely obscene and, in fact, something very,
all right,
very
Ananya, stay with us, because remember, this is a call-in show. I'm also joined in by some callers. Right now, I'm joined in by JL Goel, who's a caller from Gurugram. JL Goel, what do you think of this naked photo shoot? By any chance, does it hurt your sensibilities?
His nude photo should be shown to his parents, his wife, his kids, and his total village where he belongs to. It should be shown everywhere. And he should be put behind the bars and should not be taken out of bars for the whole life. Okay? This such type of bullshit people, why are we paying for their film? He should be totally boycotted. forever, for the whole life.
All right, Mr. Goyal, thank you for speaking to us. I also have Rajiv Pandey from Pune. Rajiv, please go ahead and share your views.
See, the glamour industry and the film industry works on creating content which portrays glamour, which portrays people in a different light as compared to normal people. These guys are just doing their job, and you cannot start creating such kind of FIRs and nonsense cases against these people. It's absolutely not done.
All right, you don't think that this photo shoot sort of hurts anybody's sensibilities and that it's
Absolutely not. It should not. There are worse things in society. I mean, there are people who are going around saying rape, they are justifying rape. I mean, big politicians. Why don't we call that out?
All right, thank you for speaking to us, Rajiv Pandey. And with that, let's also get in a sense of perspective in terms of what this controversy is all about. And for that, I'm joined in by Shilpa Ratnam from Mumbai. Shilpa, if you could take us through when the day when this photo shoot actually released, how the internet actually broke into a frenzy, and this was the much talked about thing, and everybody was suddenly talking about it. There were memes all over the internet. Take us through how this has actually managed to garner viewer or other readers' interest and also shock the eyeballs.
Well, yes, indeed, Ranveer Singh is known for his OTT style, and it turns out that when he's not wearing all the clothes available, he's wearing none at all for this photo shoot. So it was that kind of polarity which really sparked off a lot of jokes, and also the fact that it is considered one of the most, to use a stereotypical or cliched word, a very bold photo shoot done by a male actor. And the aesthetic and the gaze as well was something that was really discussed, and also because it was something that we haven't seen a mainstream Bollywood actor do. It really did spark off a lot of conversation, but a lot of it, a lot of conversation around it was because the curiosity factor. Alia Bhatt also reacted to it after this controversy broke out. She said that he's my favorite, and I don't like it when people say anything negative about him. Or even his friend Arjun Kapoor, who said, this is how Ranveer Singh is. He's just himself, flamboyant, and just is comfortable in his own skin. But now, the fact that this has sparked off a complaint and allegations of sentiments being hurt, we don't expect the actor to comment on it, because in the past we've seen that actors usually like to let these controversies slide unless they're pushed to a corner and painted into a corner to respond to it. But as far as the industry's reaction goes, it has been largely positive, because there is an entire shock factor as well, which is something Bollywood banks on to stay in the news, to stay in the headlines. So as far as the actors goes, it has only garnered mostly praise since it's.
Also, Shilpa, you must mention what he had to say in that interview for which he's done this photo shoot, because I believe in that interview also he said something of the sort that I don't mind getting naked in front of 1,000 people, and that also again re-establishes or rather reiterates his personality as it is, because he's known as someone to be breaking gender norms, as somebody who doesn't like to conform to norms, and somebody who believes in gender neutral clothing. He's known for his flamboyant sartorial style. I'll actually come back to discuss that. For now, let me also take in some views from one of our callers, Ramesh, who's joining us from Kochi. Ramesh, please go ahead and share your views about Ranveer Singh's photo shoot.
Good morning to you, and I've been regularly watching CNN News. Hello.
Right, we can hear you, Ramesh. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Very good morning to you. And
good morning to you.
Number one is, what I could see is it's like a bodybuilder show. If he has mentioned that he is showing the obscenity and he is open to be naked in front of 1,000 people, it is wrong. That is number one. He is not making a public show. Number one. Number two is, if a female actress, I am just questioning a female actress, if she is coming out half naked or whatever it is in so many shows, why those things are not taken in a serious view? why this is affected. You go and see the shows or some of the places where they are going and, exposing themselves. Why that is not taken seriously? I do agree that this is obscenity by Ranveer is not permissible. But at the same time, there should be a gender equality.
Right.
And you should also mention that nobody is allowed like this.
All right, fair enough. Fair enough, Ramesh. Thank you for speaking to us. I also have Rajiv from Delhi. Rajiv, please go ahead.
Yeah. Tell me one thing. Why don't they go and arrest these Nanga sadhus at the Ghat in Haridwar, in Banaras, where they're all sitting nude? Is that allowed?
All right, so you don't think that there's anything obscene about this photo shoot? That
Absolutely nothing obscene. It is bloody the dirty mind of the bloody people who think about it's obscene. If he wants to show his body, what is the problem? Who's got a problem? Let it go to court. Let them first catch hold of all the Nanga sadhus sitting at the ghats, moving around naked all the time. Why don't they catch hold of these people? What is wrong? He wants to do something. What is your people, other people's problem? Why don't they mind their own business? They don't want to see. Don't let them not see.
All right, Rajiv, thank you for sharing your views. I also have Karthik from Delhi. Karthik, please go ahead and share your views.
First of all, Ranveer Singh is not a Naga sadhu and has no concept of religion whatsoever. Secondly, social media is not a male stripper club. And if Ranveer Singh wants cheap publicity, he should go and find it overseas in France or somewhere else. In the current Indian social context, he should have either the sensibilities to understand that there is a fine line between art and obscenity, or perhaps he's just too stupid to understand it.
All right, Karthik, thank you for speaking to us. Let me also now go back to Shilpa, who was on the broadcast with me. Shilpa, we heard some of those callers, a very stark contrast in views as we can hear some of them. Having said that, netizens also were equally divided and polarized in their view. While some were calling the entire photo shoot very bold and brave, there were others who said that it was very unaesthetically shot. There are many who are drawing comparisons with women, saying that what if women resorted to the same amount of obscenity? That wouldn't be welcomed by various NGOs either. How have netizens reacted to this photo shoot?
Well, yes, indeed. As you're pointing out, a lot of them said, will women have the same privilege when it comes to perhaps shedding all their clothes or inhibitions? And this was also exemplified by an actor, Esha Gupta, who is known for her sultry photo shoots. But the kind of comments that she receives on her pictures are usually rather abusive from men, and who use a lot of derogatory terms and even sort of insightful language. But when it came to Ranveer, a lot of them applauded him for having the courage to put himself out there, so as to say. And also earlier you were talking about the interview that he gave, where he said he was so comfortable in his own skin, and in fact that's how he would be. Even in front of 1,000 people, he's willing to shed his clothes and his inhibitions.
All right, Shilpa, stay with us because I'm also joined in by Kasturi Shankar, who's an actor. Kasturi, if I could take the same question from you, by any chance, do you perceive Ranveer Singh's photo shoot to be offensive or obscene?
Again, obscenity is a subjective word, but offensive, certainly not. It's very sad for Ranveer. He's an excellent actor, but he gets so much flack for his sartorial choices. जब वो कपड़े पहनता है तो भी हम कुछ ना कुछ कहते हैं. अभी तो कुछ नहीं पहना तब भी हमने he cannot win either way, poor guy. But you know what is offensive? This is India. This is the land of nirvana. And Mahatma Gandhi was derisively called a half-naked fakir. I think it's time we need to shed not just the clothes, but we need to shed these kind of patriarchal, parochial thought processes and start moving on with life. There are so many important problems here which are much more offensive. half the country is living, nearly half the country is living below the poverty line. They cannot even afford clothes, and we are sitting here discussing Ranveer's nudity. What is it?
No, but I mean, that is what netizens are also doing, and that's exactly what we've picked up, because they're all questioning. They are all questioning: is this a free? We also comprise those people, and that's why I'm asking: is this a cheap publicity stunt, or would you rate this as freedom of expression?
You know, if it were a diplomat or a representative of the political or military might of the country, maybe it's not right in the workplace. But for an actor, I think these things are, we are in the business of publicity. Isme cheap kya, uncheap kya? If he was ugly to look at, that's one thing. He's pretty easy on the eyes as well. Nudity shouldn't be a problem in the land of Khajuraho. Our gods and goddesses, our greatest saints and ascetics have been nude. Nudity is not wrong per se. It's really context. Everything is context.
You know what's very interesting, Kasturi? What's very interesting is that in Ranveer Singh's FIR that's been lodged against him, the reason given by the NGO is that it's hurting the sentiments of women. Do you think it's hurting the sentiments of women, and that women are going to be, are women actually hurt by this naked photo shoot? Also, are men hurt when there are naked photo shoots of women?
Is that a serious question? I've never seen a man being hurt by seeing...
No, you know, these questions are very serious because they actually go on to question gender norms. And, you know, this is questioning the mindsets that we are carrying in today's society. So please treat this as a serious question.
Oh, my gosh. Please, I hope women's slip doesn't come to the point where we cannot appreciate the male body. I mean, there's nothing wrong with having a human body, and there is nothing wrong with the maximum you can say is exhibitionism. And for an actor, what is an actor if not an exhibitionist to start with? I mean, I really don't know where to start. We are the same people. You know, half the people who are complaining now and outraging now are the same people who will go to the Uffizi Museum in Italy and admire the statue of David, admire all the Roman nudes, and come back and show pictures taken alongside that. These are the same people who will go to Shravana Belagola and see that in context. That with respectful context. We have naked Jain monks that I have worshipped. I myself have respectfully treated. We have naked Aghoris. So it's all context. So to say that people are hurt by just seeing a body, a human body that we are all born with. Maybe men are hurt, maybe they are jealous, but I can't see that. Maybe the women who filed the FIR are hurt or something. Maybe they're sad they don't have that to see every day or something.
All right. Thank you for speaking to us, Kasturi. On that note, let me also quickly go back to our correspondent, Ananya Bhatnagar. Ananya, you were mentioning that... all right, I'm joined in by Harman at the moment along with Shilpa Ratnam. Harman, if I may come to you, as Ananya was pointing out that, you know, this is a matter which also could pertain to the IT Act that may be invoked because of the images going viral on the internet. What are the chances that this may also fall under the IT Act now?
Well, yes, in fact, in that FIR that has been filed at the Chembur police station, it has clearly mentioned about his Instagram account. So that is as far as under the IT Act is concerned. Now, some similar sections that have been applied in this particular FIR are also quite similar to the Raj Kundra case, if you remember, where there was certain sort of relating to the porn controversy at that point in time. And at that point, another key question that was being raised by several, from legal circles is that how much is too much. Now, as far as his questioning is going to be concerned. What we are told is that they are in fact going to ensure that his statement is recorded, and only after that you would have then probably the next course of action. But then he also has the legal course of action, legal options before him too, as to what needs to be done next. But we do know that Section 292, 293, as well as 509 of the IPC have already been filed against him. Besides that, also sections of the IT Act, because he had taken to Instagram before
Stay
sharing.
with us, Harman, because I'm also joined in by Mr. Prahlad Kakkad, who is an ad guru. Mr. Kakkad, how do you see this entire controversy? Was there a need to actually go on and file an FIR against Ranveer Singh? Do you think, in your views, is the photo shoot obscene? Is it hurting your sensibilities, as it seems to have been claimed in the FIR that it hurts the sensibilities of women?
Why should it hurt the sensibilities of women? He's a good-looking guy. He's not some paunchy little lala, or a politician or a cop, one punching type. He is an idolist. And there abroad, there are magazines specially for women, which are like Playboy. It's called Playgirl. So
but Mr. Kakkad, there are many who are saying that these images have gone viral on the internet, and that children are also, viewing the internet, and, they may be subjected to nudity on the internet just because of these images now going viral on social media.
Children are the most natural people in the world. If given a choice, until we start shaming them, they would never like to wear clothes. My children grew up till the age of 6 not wearing clothes at all. And that was the most natural way. They didn't like clothes. They wanted to just be free. So all the business, children being influenced by nudity and all this load of rubbish.
Right, because if you actually look at the charges, sections 292, 293, 509, they all are charges of corruption, obscenity, insulting the sensibilities of women.
This is like the same thing that happened with Bilan Soban and what's her name, Madhu Sapre, for that hoarding. It was beautiful. As I said, Bhagwan ne inko bahut fursat se banaya hai. And there's nothing objectionable about it, because you can't say anything. It's just suggestion of nudity. It's not full frontal or something. That's all over the world you see sculptures. All over India you see sculptures of beautiful bodies, who are nude or have got a fig leaf or something. Come on. What is happening to us as a society? We're becoming so intolerant. And everybody is sort of jumping onto the bandwagon and putting FIRs because because that seems to be their small opportunity to be known, to get known on somebody else's, riding piggyback on somebody else's fame.
Prahlad, how do you react to the mindset where people are comparing this? They're saying that if we have to talk about gender equality, let's also remember the fact that we'll not take so kindly to women posing naked, but how can a man get away with it?
No, women are always posing naked. Bikini, today if you look at your movies, if you look at even your ads, if you look at anything that is on there, beautiful women with bikini cat figures are always very, very popular, and that is the norm. So what's wrong with men being nude? It's as long as it's aesthetic and it's not vulgar.
All right. Thank you for speaking to us, Prahlad, and sharing your views. And with that, let's also quickly take in our next caller. That's Chandrasekhar, who's joining us on the phone line from Chennai. Chandrasekhar, I'm sorry to have kept you waiting, but please go ahead and share your views.
It's okay. But my problem is you media people should not ask only Hollywood and Bollywood people. They are all hi-fi people of India without knowing the basic culture of India and tradition of India. All these things are going to spoil the society. The society itself being converted slowly towards the Western, while the Western people are coming to India for peace, asking for peace. Okay, these things have to be cut in the bud itself, and we need lot of reforms in the censor board. We have to put the right people who think about the future of Indian citizens.
their way of
Mr.
life.
Chandrasekhar, a
their
counter
culture
argument
and
to that
tradition.
is that we belong to the land of Kama Sutra,
All
we
these
belong to the
Hollywood
land
and
of
Bollywood are all
Khajuraho. No,
westernized.
it's not about
Madam,
Western
all these
culture.
Bollywood and
Mr.
Hollywood,
Chandrasekhar,
they're
how
all...
would you answer questions when, one has to counter that arguments by saying that you belong to a country of Kama Sutra, you belong to a country where there's a Khajuraho, where you have naked sculptures?
Everything has got its own limits. It's not absolute freedom. The freedoms are restricted. You cannot have it in the public. There may be so many things in the private, but you cannot have it in the public. That will spoil the society, madam. We have got responsibility towards society. We have got the Hollywood and Bollywood are all basically brainwashed by the Western culture. We don't want to follow them. That is why I said the censor board.
All right. Thank you for speaking to us, Mr. Chandrasekhar. And with that, let's also get Manvi Taneja on the phone line, who's an actor. Manvi, we've heard some very polarized views as far as this topic is concerned. What is your opinion? Do you think that Ranveer Singh's photo shoot hurts women's sentiments and sensibilities by any chance?
No, not at all. Because see, I could call it as a bold shoot. It is nowhere a nude shoot. It takes lots of courage to do these kind of shoot, and it is something related to a creativity. And we have seen in past that models and actors, they do these kind of shoots, and if you go through the OTT platform, there also you can see these type of content. Anything which is a nude. I fail to agree that why people are saying this is a nude shoot, where there are two pictures in this shoot. One where he's wearing an underwear. It is nowhere a nude shoot. And second, on the second picture, he's just lying down. He is nowhere related to, it is nowhere related to a nude shoot. But I would call it is a bold shoot. It is a concept shoot. He is done for a magazine, international magazine. But in other ways, I would say it is a soft target. Ranveer or Bollywood, everyone is making a Bollywood a soft target. That's why they're just trying to troll him. But it is just a bold shoot, not a nude shoot.
Manvi, how do you react to the charges that have been imposed right now? We're talking about charges of obscenity. We are talking about charges of corruption and hurting women's sensibilities. Do you think that this is hurting sensibilities also?
It is baseless. No. It is baseless. Yesterday, the people from NGO, they went to the police station to file an FIR, but they refused to file the FIR because it is not valid. The FIR is not valid. If you see Section 67A, it is based on hurting women's sentiment. It is nowhere related to nudity, sexuality, or something related to vulgarity. It is hurting. How can women's sentiment get hurt if a woman wear a bikini? Does it hurt women or a man's sentiment? No. So it is baseless. This FIR is not valid, as Philip it stated by the policemen yesterday also, that they refuse to file an FIR.
There are also counter arguments being presented that these images have gone viral on the internet, and that it's a very free space which is also accessed by young children, and that it may also impact their psychology as they are subjected to such content.
As I said earlier, that there are two shoots. He has done two photo shoots. One, he was wearing an underwear. Don't we see people wear underwear?
Right, but the one on the Turkish photo, the one on the Turkish carpet, that photo shoot,
where is
the naked one?
He's not. No, where does it look he's naked? When you call someone naked, it means he's not wearing anything and he's standing like that only.
All right, stay with us, Manvi, because on the very same story, I have some breaking inputs coming in. Let's quickly go over to those breaking news inputs. Actor Alia Bhatt has defended Ranveer Singh's naked photo shoot. She says he only deserves love and cannot tolerate anything negative against him. So there you have actor Alia Bhatt, who is also all set to co-star with Ranveer Singh in a movie in some days. Has now backed actor Ranveer Singh for his naked photo shoot. She's saying that the actor only deserves love and that she cannot tolerate anything negative against him. For more, let's also get in a sense of perspective from Manvi Taneja, the actor who's with me on the phone line. Manvi, so we have a female co-star of Ranveer Singh now backing him for this photo shoot. Clearly goes on to say that it's certainly not hurt her sensibilities. Should it actually be hurting the sensibilities of women all over the country or abroad?
No, no. I agree with Alia Bhatt that yes, he deserves love because the kind of shoot he is looking stunning, I must say, and it takes lots of courage. You need lots of confidence to do these shoots, and believe you me, it is not easy to conduct these type of shoots, and. I think it has come out to be very well. He has done for a magazine. It is he has not done for himself to gain some publicity. He's done for some magazine. It is part of his job. We call ourselves actors because we can mold in any kind of a role or a shoot maybe. And where he is not being looking vulgar, he is looking stunning. I think it is not objectionable, and the FIR is not valid as such.
All right, and what do you make of the internet? Because we've seen some very polarized views coming from the netizens. Some of them, I mean, have called it bold and brave, while the others seem extremely hurt. They're saying that this is not what the conventions or what the norms have been, what the society has been, or what the values of our country are, and that this is hurting and the values of India, and also that this is a very this is a notion that is propagated by the West. These are also views shared by callers that we are getting. And what would you like to say to the public of our country which actually endorses such views?
Yeah, I really like your question. See, if he would have done this shoot 2 years back, I think it would be not objectionable for any of them, any of the people in the society. But yes, he has done it today because these days Bollywood is soft target and people prefer to watch films from Telugu industry. So that's why they just want something to be done by Bollywood and a sudden reaction on that stuff. So these days Bollywood has become a soft target and people are not liking any move of Bollywood. They just like whatever Tamil... had it been done from a Tamil industry, they would have really appreciated. They would have said that, oh, it needs the courage. He's so confident. He's looking so stunning. But it's been done by a Bollywood actor. That's why they just want to troll them.
All right, and do you think that this is just applicable to today's day and age? While I understand that, you know, we are living in the age of everything instant, where everything goes viral within a jiffy. You upload a picture and it's viral the next moment, you know it. But having said that, do you not think that this has, as far as such bold photo shoots are concerned, this is something that's been happening since time immemorial? If one were to refer to the 90s, we've seen that photo shoot that was much publicized and equally controversial, and I'm referring to the photo shoot that was done by Milind Soman and Madhu Sapre.
See, people change by time, you know, and we have freedom of choice. Why we live in India? Because India has, it's a country where one has freedom of choice, and we can do until and unless we don't hurt someone's sentiment. Here I would like to quote, he is not hurting anyone's sentiment. It's just a vague statement that it's baseless. But if you say, I don't disagree with any kind of stuff which is uploaded by Ranveer or maybe by that particular magazine on social media.
All right, Manvi, thank you so much for speaking to us and giving your precious time. And with that, let's also now quickly move over to a caller. I'm joined in by Meghna from Pune. Meghna, please go ahead and share your views with us.
Yeah, I think there are many other things that need to be taken care of, like the obscene scenes in the pictures and movies that the children are watching. This, I think he has done is just for the publicity stunt. And maybe he is interested in showing his body, and it was done for a magazine, right? So I don't think there is anything objectionable. Objection is to be taken on the movies, like Dirty Picture and all the other types of picture where the children are watching these movies and all. Okay?
All right.
So
thank you for speaking to us.
Thank you.
Let me also go across to Vishwanath from Mysuru. Vishwanath, please go ahead and share your views. Vishwanath, can you hear me? All right, we'll try and reconnect with our callers, but that's the latest we're bringing to you. The case has been filed against Ranveer Singh under sections 292, 293, 509 of the IPC. Remember, these are charges of obscenity, of corruption, and for hurting the sentiments of women. While netizens remain extremely divided, so do our callers. We heard many of them stating that this is not what our culture preaches, and that this photo shoot hurts the sentiment of women and also the Indian sensibility, and that this is part of the Western culture. Let's also get in some more breaking news at the moment. Lavlina's personal coach Sandhya Gurung has received the official accreditation that allows her to train Lavlina Borgohain for the CWG of 2022 in Birmingham after Sai's intervention in the entire matter. The personal coach has been finally allowed. That's a big breaking news we are getting to you. Remember, that was becoming a bone of contention for Lavlina, whether the personal coach will be allowed or not. But the latest we are now learning is that Lavlina's personal coach Sandhya Gurung has received the official accreditation that allows her to train Lavlina Borgohain for the CWG 2022 in Birmingham after Sai's intervention in the entire matter. For more details, I am joined in by Shivani Gupta. Shivani, if you could take us through how this is now going to be a sigh of relief for Lavlina.
Yes, absolutely. The cry of help from Lavlina online yesterday has resulted in favourable result. In fact, yesterday we had reported that the Sports Authority had asked the IOA, they had urged them to provide the accreditation to Miss Gurung, who is the personal coach of Lavlina Borgohain, who had in fact travelled. So clearly was part of the contingent. In fact, the Sports Ministry had clarified that Miss Gurung was included in the final contingent list, but for some reason, not sure what went wrong yet, but for some reason she didn't receive the accreditation to enter the Games Village. After the intervention of both the SAI and the Sports Ministry, that of course has happened. You know, what we also learned from the Boxing Federation yesterday was that they had a certain limit of coaches they could take. We all know that that is the rule as far as these multi-nation competitions are concerned. They got that list extended, almost double of the personal staff that can accompany the boxing contingent, and yet Ms. Gurung did not find herself with an accreditation. So this was an avoidable mess to begin with, because if Ms. Gurung was part of the contingent list, she should have had an accreditation, and it shouldn't have needed Lavlina Borgohain to come public, because it doesn't look well on anybody. But in this case, within 24 hours, the Sports Ministry intervention has yielded results.
Right. Shivani, also how crucial this has been, because Lavlina also alleged mental harassment earlier, and that the need for a personal coach was extremely crucial at the CWG for Lavlina.
No, absolutely. See, for any athlete at that level, and we've seen such episodes erupt from time to time, where especially the elite athletes, the top athletes, they do, battle with the federation concerned or with SAI or the ministry to get their personal coaches on such multi-nation events. They obviously tour with them for other events. In such events, because there is a contingent limit and there are set parameters, it often becomes a battle. And for any athlete, it is of course important. When you talk about mental harassment, what Lavlina was basically talking about is that she's been facing this issue for many months. In fact, she mentioned the camp that was held earlier this year. There also her coaches were, and the physio trainer was not allowed, and it was after the intervention of SAI that they eventually made it into the camp. What is very clear is that here for the Commonwealth Games, it seems that Lavlina was given the understanding or the guarantee that her personal coach is going to be there, but it did not materialize, and that's why she felt compelled to go public with it. And as I mentioned earlier, because Ms. Gurung's name was there in the contingent list, naturally she should have had the accreditation as well. You cannot enter without the accreditation.
Right. Stay with us, Shivani, because we have some more breaking news coming in on the CWG, as we are now learning that Neeraj Chopra has been ruled out of the upcoming Commonwealth Games. The Olympian will not take part in the event after concerns for fitness arising out of an injury in the World Championships. Remember, he had participated in the World Athletics Championship last week, in which he also won a silver medal. For more details, let's quickly quickly go across back to Shivani, who is live with me from the newsroom. Shivani, this is indeed going to be a huge dampener, considering we were all set to expect Neeraj Chopra to be one of the flag bearers at the opening ceremony on Thursday.
Yes, he's the defending champion. In 2018, he won the Commonwealth Games gold. So defending your title, as Neeraj has told me in several interviews himself, is always very important for an athlete. You don't just want to win one medal at a competition, you want to have a dominance. That's what he had said. So he looks up to athletes who are able to dominate events, including the Olympics and the CWG, for a period of years. And that's what the mark of a true athlete is. So he's obviously going to be disappointed, but this was expected in some senses, because you would remember that after his World Championship silver medal effort, he had mentioned that during one of his throws he felt a strain on his groin, and he had said at that time also that his participation in the CWG is going to be contingent to medical assessment. So what I've been told is that while this is not a major injury concern, it is minor. Some scans were done to ascertain. And what he's been advised is that he, takes some rest so that he doesn't aggravate that injury. So as of now, it's not a full-blown injury per se, but it is a niggle. And if you obviously train and compete and try to give your best, you can always aggravate it. So given that he's already dominated the Commonwealth Games and there are obviously bigger targets for him, there's Asian Games also coming in. Possibly the call, which is a tough call to take, has been taken, that he'll sit this one out so that he doesn't aggravate the injury.
Right. Thank you, Shivani, for putting that into perspective for us. And with that, let's also quickly move over to some more breaking inputs that are now coming in. CNN News 18 exclusive. The CBI is to now file its first preliminary inquiry in the Delhi government liquor policy case. Top CBI sources have told CNN News 18 that the first preliminary inquiry in the Delhi government liquor policy case will be filed today by the CBI. This preliminary inquiry will be against unknown officials of the Delhi government, and the CBI wants to know how this policy was implemented, made, and on whose behalf it was influenced. CBI will also make its own assessment on the possible loss and benefit to individuals. For more details, let's quickly go across to Ashish Mehrishi. Ashish, what do we expect from this preliminary inquiry? Is this now going to establish the role of those individuals who were involved in conceiving and also the implementation of the new Delhi excise policy?
So there are serious allegations on the Delhi government. Especially there are three, if you see, there are three parts of allegations. Where the LG has said that one, there was a waiver of around 143 crore rupees, which was given by the Delhi government, which is into investigation. Second is that there was role of cartelization, where blacklisted companies were also given certain benefits out of the scheme, and they ensured that certain companies which were blacklisted, they through indirect route they got some benefits. And third was that the sticker on at the airport, that policy was basically made in such a fashion that it benefits only a few. So these are serious allegations which are being investigated as of now. But let's see how things move forward as of now. But what we can confirm is that plea is being registered by the Central Bureau of Investigation into the matter, and that is why ultimately we can say that yes, it's going to be tough time for days to come for people who have handled the policy of the Delhi government.
Right, Ashish, also the other crucial question that now arises is about the FIR. When should we expect the FIR?
So the FIR can only be expected unless it's a preliminary inquiry. So it essentially means that the CBI needs to satisfy itself with registration of an FIR. For that, they basically need substantial evidence. They need to find out who are the ultimate beneficiaries, because this entire excise policy made in such a fashion that it should benefit only. That is what the serious allegation is. But then at the same time, the Prevention of Corruption Act has to show who are the beneficiaries and why that benefit was given. So we can expect any time, once the CBI is satisfied with their own investigation, that yes, it merits an FIR, then an FIR will be registered.
Right, Ashish, stay with us because we have some more breaking news stories coming in. Stay with us. With that, let's now shift our attention over to SSC scam case. In the SSC recruitment scam case, trouble is mounting for Partha Chatterjee. Fresh allegations have been made against the Bengal minister, claiming that his former bodyguard helped 10 of his relatives get school jobs. A plea regarding the same has been filed in the Calcutta High Court. This after both Partha Chatterjee and Arpita Mukherjee's ED remand was extended till 3rd of August. Meanwhile, the Enforcement Directorate has found some documents from Partha Chatterjee's residence that have opened a fresh can of worms, exposing his links with Arpita Mukherjee. The duo are co-owners of several properties, including companies, lands, luxury flats as well. And with that, let's also get you some more inputs. Breaking her silence, Mamata Banerjee has distanced herself from Partha Chatterjee, saying that she and her party is clean. Listen to what she had to say.
আমি ছোট্টবেলা থেকে রাজনীতি করি, তার কারণ আমার একটা ধারণা ছিল রাজনীতি মানে ত্যাগ। আমি কোনো অন্যায়কে সাপোর্ট না করেও, ভুল বুঝবেন না, দুর্নীতিকে সাপোর্ট করা তো আমার জীবনের নেশাই নয়, পেশাও নয়, এবং মর্মাহত এবং শোকাহত কয়েকটি রাজনৈতিক দলের আচরণে। বন্ধু, কেউ কখনো কখনো ভুল করতেই পারে, তীর বিচার হোক। সত্যিটা যদি কেউ দোষী প্রমাণিত হয়, তাকে যাবজ্জীবন কারাদণ্ড দিলেও আই ডোন্ট মাইন্ড।
মুখ্যমন্ত্রী সব বিষয়ে চুরিকে জাস্টিফাই করার জন্য এবং নিজের চেয়ারকে টিকিয়ে রাখার জন্য সব সময় বাংলা 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 করে নিজের ইমেজ রক্ষা করার জন্য বলছেন যে দায়ভার তো ওনাকে নিতে হবে। আর অর্পিতাকে তৃণমূলের কেউ বলবো না, অথচ অর্পিতাকে অনেকদিন ধরে চিনি। আপনি একটা মিথ্যাশ্রী পুরস্কার ঘোষণা করুন এবং প্রথম আপনিই পাবেন। এরকম একটা চরিত্রহীন লোক সরকারি সমর্থন মুখ্যমন্ত্রীর আশীর্বাদ ছাড়া কখনো হতে পারে না।
Inputs now. We are learning that the Enforcement Directorate has started interrogating both Partha Chatterjee and his aide Arpita Mukherjee separately. For now, these interrogations are taking place. And our sources are also telling us that Arpita Mukherjee is being relatively more cooperative than Partha Chatterjee. Partha Chatterjee is avoiding direct answers. For more details, I'm also joined in by our correspondent Ashish Mehrishi and Shogato Mukhopadhyay, who's our Kolkata Bureau Chief. For more details, let's first go across to Ashish. Ashish, if you could tell us how crucial is the ED questioning and why is Partha Chatterjee being so dodgy?
So, when the Enforcement Directorate knocked at the doors of Partha Chatterjee, there was certain evidence that they were able to collect, and that is why they went to Arpita Mukherjee's residence. First, they found certain company documents. Secondly, when they further searched, they found certain property documents where they both were co-owners. And that is why the Enforcement Directorate sleuths went to the house of Arpita Mukherjee. In fact, when I spoke to my sources in the Enforcement Directorate, they said, we never expected this kind of cash at the house of Arpita Mukherjee. In fact, they were shocked to see that kind of cash. So as of now, we know that Partha Chatterjee is in the custody of the Enforcement Directorate. First, the lower court, the Metropolitan Magistrate Court, gave only 1 day of custody, only 2 days of custody, and 1 day of custody of Arpita Mukherjee. But then the Enforcement Directorate went to the PMLA court. They also challenged his stay in the hospital, in the West Bengal-based Kolkata SSKM hospital, and further he was taken to Bhubaneswar. And finally, he's been avoiding somehow every question of Enforcement Directorate. He was in fact forced to be taken over to Bhubaneswar, where his report has been found to be absolutely okay. That though he has some chronic problems, but he does not require full-time admission, and that is why the PMLA court finally gave around 10 days of custody of both Arpita as well as Partha Chatterjee. So here, he is basically he's stuck. He's facing huge amount of problem. He tried, when he was arrested, he tried at least 3 to 4 times calling the Chief Minister. The Chief Minister did not respond to his, and that is why he knows that he's stuck as of now, and he's avoiding all direct questions.
Right. It's interesting that you pointed out that the Chief Minister has not really responded to his cry of help. But stay with us, Ashish and Shogato. We'll keep tracking all those details. For now, let's also listen in to Member of Parliament Dilip Ghosh's reaction on Partha Chatterjee.
पार्थ चैटर्जी को लेकर लगातार ममता बनर्जी हमलावर हो रही हैं और केंद्रीय एजेंसियों के दुरुपयोग का आरोप लगा रही हैं।
इधर बोल रहे हैं जल्दी सुनवाई करिए, आजीवन कारावास दे दीजिए, इधर बोलते गलत उपयोग होता तो इतने सारे पैसा मिलता है क्या? यही तो सही उपयोग है, पहले होना चाहिए था तो कम से कम बंगाल बच जाता, भ्रष्टाचार से देश भी बच जाता।
अस्पताल में ये भी बात सामने आ रही है कि उनको अरेस्ट करने से पहले उन्होंने ममता बनर्जी से भी बातचीत की थी। इस मुद्दे को काफ़ी तूल दिया जा रहा है।
उनका कहना है कि हम 3 दिन बाद फ़ोन किया, फ़ोन उठाया नहीं है। ममता जी ऐसे ही करते हैं, सबको उपयोग करते फेंक देते हैं, समय खराब आता है तो छोड़ देते हैं। अब वही आया इसलिए हाथ धोना चाहते हैं।
We have some more breaking news coming in on the same story. We are now learning that Partha Chatterjee's aide Arpita Mukherjee's seizure memo details are now out. A black diary of the Department of Higher Education has been recovered from her residence. This is a crucial finding, remember, for the ED. Let's quickly go to Shogato Mukhopadhyay, who's live from Kolkata with more details. Shogato, of course, with this seizure of the black diary that has been found, again, the spotlight is back on establishing the link between Arpita Mukherjee and Partha Chatterjee. How crucial is this black diary, and what are you learning in terms of contents of this black diary now?
Well, you see, there are multiple evidences as far as the ED is concerned. Their claims are concerned that there are multiple evidences to link both Arpita Mukherjee and Partha Chatterjee on the basis of the documents that have been seized from the houses of both the accused. One, of course, is the black diary that one has been talking about for the last few days now, and that diary was submitted as evidence in court yesterday, where the ED claimed that the diary has at least some 40 pages of names, numbers of influential people in Bengal, not just in Kolkata but also outside of Kolkata. People belonging to the ruling dispensation is what the ED has claimed, whose names and telephone numbers and addresses have been found, and vis-a-vis those names and numbers, there are also concrete evidences of financial dealings, financial transactions that have taken place, between the two sides, that is the recipient as well as from the side of the giver, which in this case seems to be Arpita Mukherjee or somebody who was working in the background. So that those are some of a list of people whose names have been found in that black diary. There's also incidentally, that black diary is a diary which is of the school of the state education department. It's the education department diary that is given out to people at the beginning of every calendar year, and that is the diary that has been used, and in this particular case submitted as evidence in court. There are also a couple of other diaries, smaller in numbers, with again financial transactions in codes which appear in those diaries, is what the ED has claimed before the court while it was submitting for the extension of its custody for both the accused. As far as the links between Arpita Mukherjee and Partha Chatterjee is concerned, Ashish was talking a short while back about properties jointly owned by Arpita Mukherjee and Partha Chatterjee. I would only want to add that the ED has stressed that this relationship goes back to at least 2012. So both Partha Chatterjee and Arpita Mukherjee have been knowing each other and involved in financial relationships.
Thank you, Shogato, for bringing in all those details. And with that, we have some more breaking news coming in, this time from the national capital. The Delhi Lieutenant Governor V.K. Saxena has suspended 6 MCD officials for gross negligence, abusing official position and receiving illegal gratification. He has also given a nod to CBI to prosecute a sub-registrar for illegally regularizing at least 50 unauthorized constructions in Karol Bagh. For more details, I'm joined in by Akash on the phone line. Akash, how do you see these actions now going down just ahead of the MCD elections?
So this is indeed a strong action taken by LD, and we're learning that these officers have a charge of, regularizing illegal constructions and illegal colonies, in fact, in Karol Bagh area. And these 6 officials have been suspended. This is what we are learning initially. And also we are learning that, a CBI probe has been recommended in this case. So this is a strong action
just a few days back, we have seen how LG has recommended, CBI probe into the new excise policy as well. And, since his appointment to this particular post, we are seeing that Lieutenant Governor is in action. And now we're learning that, this strong action has been taken against the 6 NCD officers, though we don't know the designation of these officers, but this is what we are learning on the basis of our sources. And, our sources are saying that some more can be suspended as well. This is what our sources are telling, that some more officers can be suspended as well. But at this point in time, these 6 officers have been suspended, and these are NCD officials, and they have been suspended. They have been suspended for illegally regularizing at least 50 unauthorized constructions in Karol Bagh area. So
Right.
This is what we are learning about.
Akash, it's also crucial to talk about how the LG is very serious about these unauthorized constructions. In this case, we are looking at least at 50 unauthorized constructions in the area of Karol Bagh. Some days earlier, we had learnt of the news story that the Delhi LG had ordered agencies to identify dangerous buildings which were unauthorized shortly before the monsoon season. So it also goes on to reiterate how serious the LG is about these unauthorized constructions.
Right, and also let me tell you, Akanksha, that after unification, LG is someone who is, directly the head, or I can say the boss of MCDs. And after that, taking action on those who are actually a part of illegally, regularizing constructions that are unauthorized constructions. So this is something very big, or I should say, this is a part of corruption, or this is a kind of corruption that generally political parties talk about. So at this point in time, if we say that, LG is in form and LG after the unification is taking care of all these things, then this is something very big and big development in the national capital.
Right. Thank you, Akash, for bringing in all those details. And with that, let's now shift our attention over to the UK. After Rishi Sunak became one of the front runners in the Prime Minister's race, the Indian diaspora in UK seems to be very excited over the Desi choice. My colleague Sanjay Suri spoke to some Indians living in the UK. Let's listen into what they had to say.
How excited are you that Rishi has come this far already?
Yeah, I think it's pretty exciting. I heard him last night and I see that he's very bold, driven, and I see that he has set targets for something that really matters for Britain.
And what is this doing for the Indian community that someone from the Indian community, the British Indian community, let's say, has come this far already?
Right. I think it's a matter of great pride for all of us. But I think I'd also want to say that he has not favored any ethnic majority or minority. He's been pretty neutral, and the impact he's created is great, I think. And I hope that he continues to do the same.
He is an Indian-looking Brit.
Yes.
Is that a problem?
Well, it shouldn't be a problem in 21st century. We just look at the Financial Times of the last Saturday, and Rishi Sunak's picture shows him much darker than he actually is and much more gaunter. This is known as subtle racism. When you look at Liz Truss's picture, it is shown in a very different light. And we all know, having lived in this country, how racism works. That apart, my main reason for supporting Rishi Sunak as a doctor is that he has a very good, crystal clear plan for the NHS to cut down the 6 million plus waiting list and to bring it long waiters 6 months before the current government has planned.
I'll tell you, it's such a great pride, not just within the Indian community, but within the wider Indian diaspora and the wider communities at large within Britain, because I think it shows that Rishi has done the work right during the pandemic, how he has actually pulled out the disadvantaged people and how he can do. So I think basically, I know there are comments about racism, the Indian sort of culture, but I think basically he's born and brought up here in Britain, and he is a British at heart, and that will never change anything, and I'm sure everybody will support him because the Conservative Party is not racist.
Well, getting you more details of that top story. In ED interrogation, both Partha and Arpita have been questioned for one session separately. The further details that we are picking up are both were given a break and the second round of questioning has already begun. Whenever the Enforcement Directorate questions, it's a very exhaustive list of questionnaire. Often the questions are also asked in writing to avoid any kind of vagueness or any kind of miscommunication that may happen. They have been separately questioned and now maybe questioned together as well. There are likely to be multiple rounds of quizzing, which is usually the SOP. My colleague Shogato Mukhopadhyay with us on the broadcast. Shogato, the details that you have.
Well, I'm currently standing right in front of the Enforcement Directorate office in Kolkata, Salt Lake. That's the headquarters that you see right behind me, and that is exactly where both Partha Chatterjee and Arpita Mukherjee have been held by the Enforcement Directorate, who are being quizzed from this morning about the details of the scam that the agency is currently investigating. We do know that there have been at least 2 rounds of questioning that have happened. The second round of questioning is currently in fact going on. There was a break in the middle. The essential details that the Enforcement Directorate was initially focused on in the morning is about what kind of influence did Partha Chatterjee have in the disbursement of the jobs that happened from the SSC. What exactly was his role? Did he directly give the jobs out himself, or was he in coordination with the committee, with the recommendation committee that the Bengal government had set up? Was he playing a role behind the decisions of that committee, the experts committee, for giving out those jobs, and what exactly was his relationship with that community, given the fact he was at that point in time the education minister? That part was obviously we were getting. Partha Chatterjee was giving out vague answers. He was not very concrete in his replies. So the ED officials we were trying to speak to in the morning told us that he was being a bit evasive in his replies. As far as the second round of questioning is concerned, the focus, we are told, is now on those deeds, the property deeds which were unearthed and found from the residences of both the suspects. We do know that there have been multiple deeds, both in the name of Partha Chatterjee and Arpita Mukherjee, and some joint deeds as well. Gift deed of Partha Chatterjee to Arpita Mukherjee, also deeds, property deeds for a certain company called Ichche Entertainment Private Limited. Multiple deeds on that company were also found. So the details of those property deeds are what the Enforcement Directorate are trying to find out from Partha Chatterjee and Arpita Mukherjee as to what exactly was the kind of involvement. We do know that Arpita Mukherjee and Partha Chatterjee did have properties not just in Kolkata but outside in Kolkata, places like Shantiniketan in Birbhum as well, and those details are being tried. The enforcement officers are trying to find out the details as to how the transaction happened, what was the source of the money, where did the money come from, where did that and where and when was the deed finalized, and why did Partha Chatterjee have that kind of financial relationship with Arpita Mukherjee for not just 1-2 but for the last 1 decade.
Absolutely, Shogato, and those are very critical links that you're mentioning about the property deeds that the Enforcement Directorate is investigating right now, whether for the purpose of scam or not, but there is some kind of fiduciary relationship between the two. There's some more breaking news and details which are coming in on this. Well, these are details of the black diary which has been seized from the residence of Arpita. Now, this black diary has got some details of cash transactions. It was maintained by Arpita to keep a tab on the cash deposits made by her in banks. The diary is of Department of Education, Government of West Bengal. Those are interesting details which are coming out. So far, the defense that has come from the TMC and also Dilip Ghosh is that he has no links with Arpita Mukherjee, and the cash that was recovered from her place or any kind of unaccounted items that were recovered, there is no fiduciary relationship at all. Ashish Maheshi will tell us more about this diary. Ashish, tell us more about this diary. What kind of evidentiary importance and value does it hold?
There was lots and lots of curiosity because everybody wanted to know what is inside that black diary once the seizure memo came out. So everybody wanted to know what is inside that diary. Does it have lots and lots of details about cash transaction? Yes, it does, but it does not have too many details of cash transaction. It is for a few lakh rupees. Though obviously it is going to hold importance as far as the case goes. But then one has to realize the fact that the cash that has been caught till now is in a few crore rupees. It's in fact 21.90 crore rupees. So here this diary it's a black diary which is basically of the Department of Education, Ministry of Government of West Bengal. But at the same time it was basically used personally by Arpita Mukherjee. She used to make entry of cash deposits that she used to make in the bank account in various bank accounts that she was holding. So just to keep tab on what amount of money has been submitted into the bank, she used to maintain for her self-accounting that diary. That is absolutely, that our sources have confirmed to me.
A diary has been recovered. My colleague Ashish Maheshi getting us all the details. Ashish, before I go to my guest, one brief question that I have for you. This diary is also purportedly of Department of Education, Government of West Bengal. What does it matter? Like, was it an official diary that is usually issued each year by the Department of Education?
So usually, it can be distributed as well. It is usually used internally as well. It can be used externally as well. But then this diary, if it is found in the possession of Arpita Mukherjee, then obviously it holds importance, because everybody knows that Partha Chatterjee is the former Minister of Education of West Bengal, and there have been serious allegations on both Arpita and Partha Chatterjee about taking bribe for jobs through SSC and in primary education for teachers as well as for C&D class appointments. So obviously it holds importance, because this is an absolute evidence on the cash deposits that entry into that diary it matches with the cash deposits that have been done into the bank account. So it obviously holds some importance.
Ashish, I'd request you to stay on with us on the broadcast. I take this discussion to our guest as well, Mr. Pratim Ranjan Bose, who's a political analyst, Manojit Mandal, who's a political analyst, also a member of the TMC, is joining us on the broadcast. Mr. Bose, I'm coming to you first. There are various property deeds, gift deeds, which establish some kind of fiduciary link at the very least between Partho Chatterjee and Arpita Mukherjee. So far, the defense that has been coming from Partho and also to a certain extent from the TMC is that the both are not linked to each other. Does that defense really hold now?
It's a gallant effort to cover what is as clear as daylight. The relationship between the two can be established from the existence of those documents which relates to the education department and are now found in Arpita's residence. You can distance yourself from the money, I understand. You will try to do that. But what about those documents? How can they reach there? So, I mean, it is just very, very, I should say, I don't know why, or rather we know why. Probably because of their own conflicts. There is one side of the party that wants to throw the G5 out, that includes Mr. Chatterjee, and that they wanted for quite some time. And there is another side probably that is trying to protect. And in between these two conflicts, and in this conflict, what is damaged and irreparably so is the image of the party and the government. Because this scam is not new. We must all appreciate that it has been in the news for last 5 years. And for last 1 year, these people were demonstrating on the streets. So, and one minister's daughter has already lost job. So it was very much there, and there is no way you can just brush it under the carpet.
Okay, Manojit, I'm coming to you, and I'd give you all the time, but I want you to respond to my question very specifically if possible. That's a request I make to you. This is a scam which is directly linked to the kind of recruitments that were done by the government. There is a fiduciary relationship that has been established so far. Doesn't it or directly hit the image of the party? A leader like Mamta Banerjee, who has exemplified political ethos with a frugal life, she doesn't even hold any kind of property. She has exemplified in many ways what a life of a politician should be. And then in your own party, you have people who are involved in scam or associates of from whose residence you recover crores of rupees. Isn't this a huge dent on your party?
First of all, you rightly pointed out that the party matters, party stands because of Mamtadi's, impeachable narrative of sacrifice, grit, and determination for the last 40 years. And now she is being ably assisted by Abhishek Banerjee, who is rising like a star in Indian politics. Everyone can understand. As far as this particular issue is concerned, you can't really call it a scam. Yes, the investigation is on. I think the accused, they must cooperate with the investigation. Like many of you, we are also disturbed by these piles of cases being found in someone's house, despite the fact that it doesn't have any kind of link with the political party that at times I represent. This is amply clear. If anyone, either it is Partha Chatterjee or anyone in the party, is somehow or the other linked with this money, the party will certainly take action. And I tell you, and this with all confidence at my command, the party is closely watching each and every move,
Indeed
not just of the investigating agency, but everyone. I tell you that if you
Manojit, I'm sorry I'm interrupting you. I'm interrupting you because
because
I've got a breaking bit of information coming in. I'll come back to you and get more details from you. But this is the latest information that the phone number of Partha has been blocked by Chief Minister Mamta Banerjee. Partha Chatterjee, he tried to call the West Bengal Chief Minister 3 times. Those are the call details we put out to you exclusively yesterday as well. On all 3 occasions, she did not answer the call. On the 4th occasion, what we are picking up is that Mamta Banerjee has blocked the number of Partha Chatterjee. Those are the details which are trickling via information, via sources within the department which are investigating the manner in which the authorities are going about this investigation. Ashish Mehershi is with us on the broadcast. Ashish, tell us more.
So, this is something absolutely surprising. The reason being that Partha Chatterjee, if you see the arrest memo as well, because you have to inform somebody once you are arrested. So Partha Chatterjee chose to call up Mamta Banerjee. He called up thrice and there was no response. But on the 4th time, the number was blocked. So this is an absolute, one can say that somebody who has been so closely associated with TMC, somebody who has been so close to the Chief Minister. And today, when it came to trouble, when it came to the Enforcement Directorate knocking their door, the Chief Minister distancing himself from the Minister, from the sitting Minister. He still continues to occupy the position of Commerce Industry Minister. But what leaves everybody with surprise is that his number stands blocked as of now on the phone of Mamta Banerjee.
Thank you, Ashish, for getting us all those details. I'm coming back to you and taking more details, Manojit. You were talking about the larger image of the party. It's welcome. It's welcome that you're saying that any minister, if he's involved in the graft charges, party is not going to protect it. I don't think any political party can take a stand otherwise. Now, for that to be not mere lip service and for it to have some substance, you also need to introspect within the party and also what happened over the years under the TMC administration. This is not a scam that happened overnight. Are you going to look within your department and see for how long it has been going on?
I repeat, TMC as a party does not stand with the corrupt or the criminals. It is the BJP's job. Nitish Pramanik is a classic example of that. 12 cases, murder, sexual harassment, girl trafficking. He was rewarded for those cases. He was made the Deputy of Home Minister. Look at, oh my God.
I don't have anyone from the BJP, unfortunately, to respond to that, Manojit.
Exactly. I'm stating the fact, Anusha. You Google him, you'll get there are 12, 13 cases now.
So let's talk about the public money in the state of West Bengal. You are the ruling party. There's a landslide majority that DP has got. There has to be some public accountability, sir.
If I state the facts, why are you so jittery? I'm stating the facts.
I am not jittery. I'm asking you a question. I am asking you a question.
If these reports are true, look at this. Mamtadi, again, if reports are true, Mamtadi did not even pick up the call. Now she has blocked him. What does this suggest? Let Amit Shah take action against Nitish Pramanik, who is accused of
if BJP is not taking action against their corrupt mantris, you are not going to take action and you're not going to look within your departments. Is that your argument?
This is the problem. It happened only on Saturday.
Okay.
We are looking for some concrete evidence that this money is linked to this man or the properties indeed belong to this man. Let us wait for some more time. But this person has been has been rewarded for the criminal cases by Mr. Amit Shah. When he was in TMC, those cases were instituted against him. And the moment he switched sides to BJP, he said that मेरा सब पाप धो गया आज BJP में आ गया. Same is true about Shubhendu Adhikari. Same is true about Hemant Biswa Sharma. Same is true about Shivraj Singh Chauhan.
So your grouse is that there were more corrupt people within the TMC, and when they went to the BJP, there's no prosecution. Is that what you're saying?
When you say look within the BJP and the top Mr. Prime Minister and Mr. Home Minister should also look.
No, but sir, whataboutery is an argument to a limited extent. You will have to answer on the substance because this involves public money. This involves teachers' recruitment scam. This is a matter of education, and this does not happen overnight. There is very important evidence that has come to light that shows property deeds. There is also bank account details which are under the scanner at the very least.
To do with the party. Even
all right, there are also some live visuals which are coming in. I'm very sorry to interrupt this discussion, but there are some live visuals coming in. We are going to cut across to those visuals which are on your screen right now. All right, these are the visuals from the Enforcement Directorate office. We'll get you more details on this one, but the questioning is underway. What we are hearing is that the first round of questioning is already over. The second round of questioning is underway. There are very crucial fiduciary links that have emerged, including property deeds, gift deeds from Partho Chatterjee to Arpita Mukherjee. The Enforcement Directorate is also going to look at the diary about this, but these are visuals of Sonia Gandhi, who's coming out of the ED office. Now, Sonia Gandhi is being questioned in the National Herald case. This is another very, very high-profile case which is being probed by the Enforcement Directorate. The live visuals on your screen right now, the Lutyens zone right now is a heavily guarded fortress. Cutting across to my colleague Ashish, who's getting us more details. Ashish, tell us more about this questioning.
So we need to check with our sources what was charged, but it was almost 3 hours of questioning that the Enforcement Directorate sleuths did with Sonia Gandhi. She came in around 11:15, 11:30. Can you please ask the producer to if the voice is bouncing back?
Yes. I'll just ask to fix that.
So Enforcement Director sleuths questioned her for almost 3 hours. In all likelihood, she's gone for lunch, but we need to check whether she's going to come back or not, because last time the Enforcement Directorate left her after lunch and they did not ask her to come back because of serious health issues. But let's see how things move forward. Let me speak to my sources and find out whether she is left only for lunch or back, or it is done for the day. That we need to check. But it was 3 hours of questioning. How many questions were asked? What was asked? That I can speak to my sources and confirm for our viewers.
All right, let's go back a little bit, Ashish. Could you tell us about what kind of investigation has already gone on so far? What are the important links that have emerged? And apart from the political optics of it, from an investigation point of view, how crucial was this round of questioning?
So, see, the matter is that whenever a ECIR is registered in a PMLA case, the process is basically that Enforcement Directorate has to take statement of each and every accused before a charge sheet is filed. So even in this case, then when the ECIR has been registered, a statement of each and every accused. We all know that the court took cognizance of a complaint filed by Subramanian Swamy, and finally Rahul Gandhi, Sonia Gandhi and other functionaries of Young Indian are on bail as of now. So it is basically all accused have to come before the Enforcement Directorate, because ECIR has been registered on the orders of the court, and finally they have to file a charge sheet in the matter. So here accused Rahul Gandhi, he has already given his statement, and Sonia Gandhi, who holds 38% equity in Young Indian, she also needs to be investigated. She needs to give a statement before the charge sheet is filed by the concerned investigating officer of the Enforcement Directorate.
All right, Ashish, stay with us on the broadcast. My colleague Nikhil is also joining us live from the residence of Sonia Gandhi. Nikhil, tell us what you're picking up.
So, Anusha, Sonia Gandhi has already left the ED office and now she is expected to arrive back at her residence. These are the visuals from outside her residence as of now. Since last time when she was made to appear on Thursday, 21st of July, this is the road from where she was coming out. But today, while going for the investigation to appear, in fact, against the ED officers, she took another route. In fact, she took the back gate at her residence, and nobody actually got to know how how she, actually left for the ED office. She reached there at sharp 11 a.m. So it's been close to 4 hours since the investigations took place. Now, any time from now, she's expected to arrive back. But these are the visuals. As of now, there is silence outside her residence. Also, Anusha, adjacent to her residence, 10 Janpat, there is AICC office, All India Congress Committee office, Congress headquarter at 24 Akbar Road. So all the workers who were, who gathered here since this morning, they have been detained by the Delhi police personnel, given the section 144 already in place. So all the leaders were there, including the senior leaders, Ajay Makan, Ragini Nayak. In fact, the Chief Minister of Rajasthan State, Ashok Gehlot, he also reached at the AICC. Sachin Pilot was there, Ragini Nayak, and many of the other senior leaders from different states, they were gathered at the residence, in fact at the AICC office. But any time from now, she is expected to arrive back at her residence. But it needs to be known whether she has come here. She is going to come here for the lunch break, or she has been asked to come again after the lunch break. This needs to be known. Back to you,
All
Anusha.
right, we'll cut across to Ashish and get more details on that one, but it is very likely that she would come back at some time after a lunch break. We'll try and connect with Ashish for more details. But my colleague Ashish Maheshri is giving us these details that Sonia Gandhi will come back at 3:30 p.m. She's gone for lunch. Ashish, back with us on the broadcast. Ashish, part of routine procedure that you're allowed to go for a lunch break?
Yes, it is an absolute procedure, a routine procedure, where the accused is allowed to go for lunch break unless that accused is arrested. So here in this case, obviously Sonia Gandhi does not stand arrested. She can go for lunch and she can come back for questioning. So here she left at around 2 and we can expect her to come by 3:30.
All right, Ashish, I'd also talk to you about a little bit more details. 38% equity. Sonia Gandhi needs to be questioned about this. This has been a case. The complaint by Subramaniam Swamy was filed years ago. The case also went on at a magistrate court. Then there were different agencies that were looking into the matter. Talk to us from a legal evidentiary point of view. What are the details that the agencies have so far?
The Enforcement Directorate is basically looking at the monetary trail and whether the Gandhis and people who were associated with Young Indian, whether they are basically beneficiary of proceeds of crime or not. So here the Enforcement Directorate believe, and in fact there are certain strictures of the court as well, where it very clearly indicates that the entire transaction was done with criminal intent. This is a very serious allegation. Now here the money, if you see, the money started around 1 crore rupees came into the bank account of Young Indian from a shell company when this company was not even opened. So the company received a check, but it was encashed at a later date, and subsequently we all know that Dotex Merchandise is supposed to be a shell company, which even the Income Tax Appellate Tribunal in its orders has claimed that it was basically run by a person who was basically giving data entry to different people, or you can say he was basically an entry operator named Sunil Bhandari. Now, if you go into further transactions, it says that the debt of more than 90 crore rupees, there was a debt of 90 crore rupees which was on the head of Associated Journal. So when the takeover happened, they bought the debt for around 50 lakh rupees. So for 50 lakh rupees, they bought over the debt of around 90 odd crore rupees. But with that, assets worth of more than 2,000 crore rupees. So here, the entire transaction, question, it is being alleged that this entire transaction is a sham transaction, and basically it was basically to benefit the people who hold major equity, that is Sonia Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi. They were basically major equity to it, and this entire transaction was done to benefit them for around 2,000 crore rupees of assets. So that is what the claim of Enforcement Directorate is. But then all investigations and all charges need to stand in the court of law.
That's right.
But here the process is being followed. As I said, the process very clearly says that all accused need to be investigated once. Their statement needs to be taken. And in this case as well, Rahul Gandhi has already been questioned. Sonia Gandhi has been questioned as of now.
I'm going to cut across to Nikhil as well, who is outside the residence of Sonia Gandhi. Nikhil, as you were pointing out that the political optics of it, Congress party is making sure they make a statement on the streets, and that is why you see the top leadership coming out on the streets and protesting it. And it happens each time a member of the Gandhi family is quizzed.
Well, Anusha, and each time it is the public who is facing the brunt because of the same, because we have mentioned earlier as well, Anusha, that because of the appearance of the Gandhi officials, Gandhis, for the to appear before the ED officials, Section 144 is already imposed in entire New Delhi district. So whenever there is appearance, there is always gathering of the Congress workers outside the AICC office and inside the AICC office as well. And Anusha, if you remember last time on 21st of July, last Thursday, when she was made to appear for the very first time, that time Congress workers, Congress officials were claiming that this is the Satyagraha and the peaceful protest that they are talking about. But later, when the day passed by, we had seen the visuals at how many of the workers reached to the Shivaji Bridge railway station. They had, in fact, interrupted the railway services as well. 3 of the trains were disrupted by the Congress workers, and many of the people across Delhi NCR, they were facing huge trouble. There were many of the traffic jams which were faced by the commuters, because that's the peak time when she is made to appear. So on one side, when she is made to appear, and the general public is the one who is facing the brunt. But yes, this is the time when the opposition party has come together, because it becomes easier, not just about the Gandhis. There are others as well from different parties. Talk about Partha Chatterjee from TMC, talk about Satin Jain from Aam Aadmi Party, who is already facing the ED heat. And in fact, tomorrow as well, on 27th of July, Sanjay Raut from the Shiv Sena party, he has been asked to appear before the ED officials. So time and again they have been raising this particular issue in the parliament as well. In fact, as told by some of the senior Congress officials today as well, they moved some of the adjournment motion notice under Rule 347 in the parliament to discuss the misuse of the central agencies by the central government against the opposition party leaders. So this is something, a common factor which has brought all the opposition leaders into a same platform. But in fact, Anusha, we raised this particular question to Amit Malviya, who is the BJP co-in charge in the Bengal state. We asked him as to the opposition parties are raising the question, and since the monsoon session is ongoing, and okay, so we can see some of the movement outside AICC office. We are assuming this is the cavalcade of Mrs. Sonia Gandhi. She already left ED office, but it is not confirmed yet. This could be, since this is the Latian zone, VVIP zone, so there could be movement of some other VVIP as well. We will update if she is Sonia Gandhi. So when we raise this particular question to Amit Malviya, he has said that opposition party leaders are the one who are mostly into the corruption. Had it been any of the, if there are some of the corruption charges against the BJP leaders, MPs or MLA, then the opposition should raise the issue.
All right, Nikhil, as you get us all those details, there's also some big breaking news which is coming in at this point in time. We are cutting across to that developments, and 11 members of parliament have been suspended from Rajya Sabha. Yesterday, you'd remember, 4 Congress MPs were suspended by the Lok Sabha Speaker, citing misconduct, and today 11 more members of parliament have been suspended from the Rajya Sabha. That's the big news which is coming in. What are the grounds? Why did this happen? Pallavi will tell us more about this. Pallavi, over to you. What are the details? Am I audible to you, Pallavi?
Yes, if you could repeat the question.
Pallavi, 11 MPs have been suspended. What is the reason this time?
Well, the same. I mean, the rule book, of course, says that you cannot have unruly behavior, cannot come to a well of the house, cannot carry your posters. But exactly on those grounds, the action has been taken against these 11 MPs. A couple of names, of course, began to come out, but Sushmita Dev is certainly one of them. You remember there's been a notice which has been given by both, almost every political party in the opposition spectrum. They wanted a debate and discussion on the GST issue, on the price rise issue. But the House says that there's a list of business, there's a business advisory council which has to decide on how it has to be discussed and what's the time slot. Opposition, of course, the allegation is that this is just a dodging tactic by the government. They don't want people's issues to be discussed, so there has been hangama and the House was adjourned and they came to a well of the House, to which the objection has been raised by the chairperson.
Pallavi, I'm just getting some names as you're pointing out, that there's Sushmita Dev, you have Shantanu Sen, you also have A. Rahim, Dola Sen. These are the members of parliament who have been suspended, and the opposition continues to say that this is a misuse of the rule book, while the chair has cited a need for decorum and discipline within the House.
Yes, and in fact, if you go by the rule book of the parliament, ever since the parliament came into existence, there are some strict do's and don'ts, which are usually never followed. For example, you cannot have demonstrations outside the Mahatma Gandhi statue within the premises of the parliament. You cannot go rush to the well of the house. You cannot show newspaper clippings. Usually that has never been followed. But as I said, it's totally, completely to the discretion of the speaker and the chairperson if they want to take an action against the MPs. If you remember in the last session also, almost more than 20 opposition MPs were suspended for the entire session on the grounds that it was of unruly behavior. That same yardstick has now been applied to them as well.
Yesterday, when we spoke to multiple people, including, Manikam Tagore, about why the suspension or why they were protesting, they said they wanted a debate on price rise, GST and various other issues plaguing a common person. Was that the, repeated demand of the opposition MPs again?
Oh, yes. In fact, notices have been given by the Aam Aadmi Party, by the TMC, by the Congress Party. They want a debate and discussion on the price rise, as also on the GST issue. All that the government was saying is that let Nirmala Sitharaman get well, come back to Parliament because she's suffering from COVID, and then the government will slot it. But clearly there's a lack of communication between both the sides, which has resulted in what we've seen today.
How this is likely to play out, Pallavi? So many suspensions, and you pointed out it happened in the last session as well. How do you see the opposition taking this?
Well, I mean, pretty much the same argument which has been given by the Congress Party when 4 of the MPs have been suspended in Lok Sabha. This government doesn't want to answer questions. And anyone who asks questions faces a political witch hunt. Either that is by way of the investigative agencies being unleashed on them, or they being actually chucked out of Parliament. In fact, it has been a common refrain of the opposition that their mics are switched off, television cameras don't focus on them when they're making a point, because the government doesn't want them to be shown.
This is a suspension for the entire session or for 1 week? We are hearing that this action is under 256.
Yes, so it essentially means for the entire session. We'll still wait for some more clarity coming in on that. But the 4 MPs who were suspended yesterday have been suspended for the entire session. The session ends in the middle of August. So it's almost half the session is over. And the government's argument is that there are so many bills which were actually discussed during the Business Advisory Council. So it's not that the opposition was not on board. Why is it that they're deliberately creating an issue when the government is open to a debate and discussion? And they're MPs. People are watching them. They're responsible MPs, and they should follow the decorum, which has always been a part of the Parliament's rule book.
Cutting across to my colleague Arunima as well. She's with us on the broadcast. Arunima, what more details do you have?
So under Section 256, this is the section of parliamentary rules which governs the code of conduct of members of Parliament. So the suspension order is being issued under this section. Sushmita Dev, Shantanu Sen, A. Rahim, M. Shamugam are some of the names which have been made to public. 11 MPs in total have been suspended. It was made very clear yesterday. The tone in a way was set when Lok Sabha Speaker took action. Rajya Sabha, we have seen suspensions happening earlier also. And acrimonious scenes came out of the upper house earlier also in previous sessions. This is in continuation of that. Opposition is also adamant. They're not going to backtrack. They'll continue to protest in the manner that they have been doing. Now government also taking a very hardened position.
Pallavi also continues to be with us on the broadcast. So Pallavi, 7 from the TMC, 2 from the DMK. Pallavi, if you're still with us on the show. We'll try and connect with Pallavi. Arunima is with us on the broadcast. Arunima, do we have a breakup of this suspended MP list? From which different parties do they hail from?
Yes, what we are being told, some of them are from TMC who have been suspended earlier too. Gola Sen is one name which we have heard earlier also when previous rounds of suspension happened. So 7 members who are from the Trinamool Congress, 2 members are from the DMK. That's the information that we have at this stage. Total 11. So 7 plus 2 is 9. 2 more. We're still waiting to understand as to from which opposition party these 2 are. But essentially it was TMC, DMK, Congress and Aam Aadmi Party. These were the parties which were constantly giving notices and raising issues of importance that they thought the government must answer. Issues about price rise, issues about GST, issues about misuse of central agencies. And because they were given repeated warnings and they did not heed to it, Rajya Sabha chair has taken this action.
Looking at the coverage and reportage that you and Pallavi have been getting, Sarunima, from different sessions of the parliament, even in the last session, there were a spate of suspensions that had happened. It seems to have become a norm. And the argument of the government is, and the argument of the chair is, that there is huge disruption in the House. We're not able to function, and that is why we have to take these measures.
Yes, sir. If you recall, just ahead of the monsoon session itself, opposition had taken objection to a government notification, to a parliament notification, which said that the rules are very clear about protests and disruptions are not allowed. And to that, opposition said this was an attempt to muzzle, to which the parliament countered, the parliament secretariat countered, saying this is a routine bulletin that is issued year after year, session after session. But in a sense, it was made clear that even though Parliament Secretariat is calling this routine, this in any way underlined what the Rajya Sabha and the Lok Sabha chair were thinking. And that thinking was made clear yesterday when Om Birla, just before suspension, just before the adjournment happened, said that if you want to show these posters and banners, please do it outside the House at 3 o'clock. The MPs did not agree and the suspension happened. So the tone in a way was set. Today a repeat happened in Rajya Sabha also. Since morning there were repeated adjournments, and finally when the opposition continued to protest, continued to make an attempt to reach the well of the House, the chair took this decision that they will be suspended. And like I said, this is not the first time this is happening, especially for Trinamool Congress, it's deja vu.
Please stay with us on the broadcast, Sarunima. I'll keep coming back to you. Gaurav Bhatia of the BJP is also joining us on the broadcast. Good afternoon, Mr. Bhatia. Thank you so much for speaking to us. More suspensions coming in, this time from Rajya Sabha.
Parliament is the temple of democracy. It is a forum which should be used for deliberation, discussion, dissent. But there is no place for placards being shown. There is no place for indiscipline and anarchy. No place for throwing files at the chair, manhandling the marshals. And this has been the conduct of the opposition parties. Dola Sen, I heard in your report, has been suspended again. And if I remember correctly, even earlier, Dola Sen was suspended by the chair. So these people are habitual offenders and their arguments don't have any merit. Therefore, they resort to such means which needs to be condemned and deprecated.
Mr. Bhatia, the argument which is coming in from the opposition MPs, we had some of them last night on the broadcast as well, is that the action of the chair tantamount to silencing the opposition parties, and suspension is an extreme step that should not be taken. How do you respond to that?
We should never question the wisdom of the chair. There are rules in place and rules are followed. And I must say that these very MPs, when suspended in the past, were even justifying standing on the table. They were justifying throwing files at the chair, manhandling the marshals. So we do not expect that they would introspect and then, change their habits. Rather, they will keep on disturbing the House, which is meant for deliberation.
My last question to you, Mr. Bhatia, the repeated demand of the opposition is that there should be a discussion on price rise and various other issues plaguing the life of a common person. Will that happen?
I would say that the House and the chair and the treasury benches are open for any discussion, but there has to be proper method that has to be resorted to, and the priority and the order of the topics is decided by the chair. It is sad that when the speaker and the chairperson of the Rajya Sabha, they ask for discussions, these very MPs do not participate. Rather, they decide to boycott the House. And this has happened in this very session. So they have no locus to complain.
Thank you, Mr. Bhatia, for joining us on the broadcast. My colleague Arunima and Pallavi have been tracking all the details from the Parliament. We'll get you more details. 11 more MPs suspended from Rajya Sabha. Yesterday, there were 4 Congress MPs which were suspended by the Lok Sabha chair. We'll continue getting you more details on the story, slipping into a very short break.
For Uddhav Thackeray, it's now purely about existence. सरकार गई, अभी party and symbol भी चला जाएगा.
Question the fact that recruitment is happening based on caste and religion. That is actually completely deviating from what the point is, and you could actually be misleading the youth.
So, is there acknowledgement from the court that some of the comments that they made on the 1st of July may have had a role in the subsequent events where the death and rape threats to Nupur Sharma increased manifold.
Governments of the day in Haryana have failed to really control this menace. A criminal can kill in a broad daylight with nothing happening against him, and even if there is an action, the cop's life won't be back.
आज आज़ादी के 75वें वर्ष में मुझे ये नया दायित्व मिला है.
After the ceremony, President Murmu greeted Prime Minister Modi, the Union Ministers, Congress Interim President Sonia Gandhi and other dignitaries who attended her ceremony at the Central Hall of Parliament.
And after the ceremony, Madam President Murmu reached her new residence, Rashtrapati Bhavan.
President Draupadi Murmu received the ceremonial salute at Rashtrapati Bhavan and then took charge of her responsibilities from former President Ramnath Kovind at Rashtrapati Bhavan. At the forecourt, Prime Minister Modi arrived for the Tri-Services Guard of Honour for President Murmu. Minutes later, President Draupadi Murmu inspected her first Guard of Honour as the Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces. With the transfer of power completed, former President Ramnath Kovind left Rashtrapati Bhavan and arrived at his new residence.
And this horrific video from Koppal in Karnataka shows the tempo mowing down several pilgrims who were sleeping on the road in front of a temple. The tempo can be seen going and deliberately moving towards pilgrims sleeping on the road. Some saw the vehicle and jumped out the way, but 75-year-old couldn't manage to move and he died on the spot. Members of the minority community stripped and thrashed a school teacher in West Bengal's South Dinajpur because she punished one of the students. The teacher had slapped the student for not attending classes. The girl's family and others stormed into the teacher's classroom and attacked her. Now, monsoon fury in Madhya Pradesh has led to a collapse of highway in Bhopal.
The highway which connects Bhopal to Jabalpur and Indore caved in on one side and caused massive traffic disruptions. The road broke into two after water from a nearby dam was released. When the water gushed onto the highway, a 40-feet piece of slab was washed away from the road. The highway was inaugurated with much fanfare just last year.
They were getting complaints for last evening, and now it is totally, you can see it is collapsed. The water was released from Bhadbada, water was released from Kaliaso Dam, and that is the root cause of this, this flood is the root cause of collapse of this bridge on this important national highway.
And in just one monsoon, the structure has come down like a house of cards.
And India is deploying a second squadron along the northern borders with China. Here's why it's required. Number one, China cranks up air activity across eastern Ladakh, and that's one area which is a sensitive area. Chinese fighter jets are often flying close to LAC, and the Chinese have been seen violating 10-kilometer no-fly zone deal between the two sides repeatedly. Chinese sorties have gone up along the LAC since June. China has upgraded all its major air bases facing India, and that's something India has to take cognizance of. The Uddhav Thackeray faction of Shiv Sena has moved a fresh petition in the Supreme Court seeking a halt on the proceedings before the Election Commission regarding the recognition of what is a real Shiv Sena. This comes days after the Election Commission asked the rival factions of Shiv Sena to submit documents to prove their majority and support their claims before the Election Commission over the symbol. It's a big twist in the 2002 Gujarat riots case. The SIT has submitted a report that there is ample evidence to prove that there was a conspiracy hatched between the former DGP RV Srikumar, Teesta Talwar and Sanjeev Bhatt at the behest of the late Congress leader Ahmed Patel in the case. As per this report, Srikumar was part of a larger nexus from the very beginning. Protests continue against Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal after the Lieutenant Governor recommended a CBI probe on the Aam Aadmi Party's excise policy.
BJP workers hit the streets to protest against alleged irregularities in the implementation of the excise policy. They held placards and raised slogans against Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal and Deputy Chief Minister Manish Sisodia while they marched towards Aam Aadmi Party's office. But they were soon blocked by the police. The protesters clashed with the cops, some tried to jump over barricades and were immediately detained. This is the third straight day of protests in the national capital against the Delhi government. The trigger is left.
Welcome back, and we continue to keep the track of that big story coming in from the Parliament where 11 MPs have been suspended from Rajya Sabha. This includes the likes of Sushmita Deb, Shantanu Sen. You also have Dola Sen and many other names from different opposition parties. My colleague Arunima is with us on the broadcast, tracking all the developments on the story. Arunima, take us through the reasons. Who are these members of Parliament? For how long they have been suspended?
So the suspension is for a week, and they were actually named from the chair in Rajya Sabha. The deputy chairperson was there, and he named Shanta Chetri, Mausam Noor, Dola Sen, Sushmita Deb, Kanimori Karunanidhi, and other MPs from the left as well as from DMK. So a total of 11 MPs were named from the chair, and under the relevant rules, that means that they will be suspended. This was because the chair repeatedly warned them that you cannot come into the well, you cannot raise placards and disrupt. And when they refused to yield, all these 11 were named. They will now not be able to attend.
We'll just try and fix that line with Arunima, but as my colleague was telling you, that the reason was the same. What we saw yesterday when 4 Congress MPs were suspended in Lok Sabha by Chair Om Birla. Even there, the reason was that they were holding placards, they were coming into the well of the House, they were protesting despite multiple warnings that were given to them. The Speaker said that repeated disruption and wasting the time of the House was the reason as to why they were suspended for the entire term. Right now, today, the development which is coming in is that 11 Rajya Sabha MPs have been suspended. This includes some key names, including the likes of Sushmita Dev, you have Kani Modi, you have other leaders, other TMC leaders as well. So those are the details coming in. Let's also try and connect with Arunima once again and get more details on this story. Arunima, if you can hear me, what are the key reasons why we have seen this suspension? And one of the key aspects that my colleagues have been pointing out is the fact that the opposition wanted a discussion on GST, on price rise and various other things which according to them should be discussed by the government. The government said that let the finance minister come back, let her recover, and we are going to have a discussion on the floor of the House. However, the opposition did not relent. Second round of suspension coming in for this session. The opposition continues to claim that this is tantamount to silencing us. The government says that this is once again wasting the taxpayers' money, and more importantly, the business of the House is not able to function properly. Cutting across to my colleague Arunima, who is with us on the broadcast. Arunima, for the benefit of our viewers, could you reiterate the names of the MPs who have been suspended from Rajya Sabha and for how long?
So for 1 week, that's a suspension for a week, and some of the names that were read out from the chair were that of Dola Sen, Shanta Chetri, Sushmita Dev, Mausam Noor, Abir Biswas, Mohammad Abdullah, A.R. Rahim and Kanimori Karunanidhi. So these were MPs who were named by the chair. The rule is very clear. That's what the chair said, that the rule is very clear. If you continue to disrupt and if you continue to not allow Parliament to function, then under Rule 256, this is the rule which governs the conduct of parliamentarians. Under Rule 56, you'll be named from the chair, and once you're named, there could be action against you. So the action taken is suspension for 1 week.
And as the details that you're putting out, this includes the member of parliament from TMC, DMK, the left parties, and we already saw suspension from the Congress party yesterday.
Yes, the Congress MPs were suspended from Lok Sabha yesterday. Again, the reason was the same. Just before the suspension, Om Birla, the Speaker, had made it very clear that if members of Parliament wanted to carry out sloganeering or show placards and posters and banners. They should do it after 3 o'clock, which means after the house, got adjourned, outside the house premises. But they refused to pay heed because their charge was that we have to raise issues of people. We have been sent to the parliament to raise issues that matter to people. Price rise is an issue which affects the common man, and therefore we can't just go by what the government wants us to discuss. We want to raise that issue. So there was a clash between the Treasury and the opposition on that. Parliamentary Affairs Minister demanded action, and subsequently these MPs, 4 MPs from Congress party were suspended in Lok Sabha. It in a way set the tone and tenor for what we can expect in the upcoming days in this session as well. Rajya Sabha, what happened in Rajya Sabha was just a carry forward of that. 1 week suspension, relatively less, if you call it punishment, so relatively less, because in Lok Sabha the suspension is for the entire duration of the monsoon session.
And Arunima, this is unlikely to cool the tempers within the parliament. This is likely to irk the opposition even further.
Oh, far from it. I mean, you saw last time also, in the last session of Parliament also, the same set of Trinamool Congress MPs. Some of the names are actually getting repeated. Dola Sen, for example, was suspended last time around as well. And we saw ugly, acrimonious scenes on the floor of the House. Then marshals alleged that they were beaten up. Female security staff of Parliament alleged that members of Parliament actually pulled them by the hair. MPs alleged that they were also dragged and manhandled there. So there were ugly scenes which led to suspension. And they did not yield. The opposition continued to sit outside Gandhi Murti and continued to protest. They came back in the next session, and now in this session we are seeing same story getting unfolded again. Once again there is suspension that is happening. And just to give you a sense, the 6th of August onwards, Jagdeep Dhankar most likely will take the chair as Rajya Sabha chairperson, as the vice president of the country. He's and TMC's equation as governor Bengal and ruler of Bengal, as a chief ministerial candidate there, as a chief minister there in Bengal. We've seen how there have been constant run-ins, and if TMC is going to lead the protest in Rajya Sabha, that will be an additional thing to watch out for as to how Vice President Dhankar's equation remains with TMC, the opposition party in the upper house.
Absolutely, Arunima. Pallavi Ghosh is also joining us live, getting us more details on that story. Pallavi, another round of suspension, and this is likely to create more standoff within the parliament. There's unlikely to be a very parliamentary or a discussion with much decorum as we expect our member of parliament to have.
Yes, and it's definitely bound to lead to a complete lack of communication now between the government and the opposition. And mind you, this seems to be having a semblance of opposition unity because political parties across the spectrum in the opposition space have been either suspended. 4 from the Congress party yesterday, and today from the DMK, from the Trinamool Congress, and from the left parties also have been suspended by Rajya Sabha. And also the fact remains over here, Anusha, is that at least on key issues, and interestingly so, I would say, on misuse of the investigative agencies and on the price rise and GST, you have seen a semblance of opposition unity. So every time we ask this question about where is the opposition, is it a withering away of that, of unity, this time round at least we cannot be saying that. So barring of course the example of the VP polls where Margaret Albert doesn't seem to be getting the support of the Trinamool Congress, but by and large on every issue they have been actually protesting together.
Pallavi, my question to you is also about this larger issue of communication that you were talking about. We had a message coming in from the Prime Minister also yesterday. And even in the beginning of the session, it was reiterated by the government that it's important to have a cross-party dialogue. But this communication seems to have broken down yet again. We have seen this repeatedly in different sessions.
Yes, and in fact, all party meetings are always held essentially to ensure that whatever may be the differences, at least both the sides can come together on larger issues like the legislative business. I think the government is going to be waiting and watching. 2 weeks almost gone by. This is the second week. The precedence often has been.
My colleague Pallavi Ghosh carrying us all the details. Arunima also tracking that story from the ground. 11 Rajya Sabha MPs have been suspended from different parties, which includes the TMC. You also have other parties, including the left. This is likely to increase the confrontation between the government and the opposition on the floor of the House. That and much more on the other side of a quick break. The teacher had slapped the student for not attending classes. The girl's family and others stormed into the teacher's classroom and attacked him. Now, monsoon fury in Madhya Pradesh has led to a collapse of highway in Bhopal.
The highway which connects Bhopal to Jabalpur and Indore caved in on one side and caused massive traffic disruptions. The road broke into two after water from a nearby dam was released. When the water gushed onto the highway, a 40-feet piece of slab was washed away from the road. The highway was inaugurated with much fanfare just last year.
They were getting complaints for last evening, and now it is totally, you can see it is collapsed. The water was released from Bhadbada, water was released from Kaliaso Dam, and that is the root cause of this, this flood is the root cause of collapse of this bridge on this important national highway.
And in just one monsoon, the structure has come down like a house of cards.
And India is deploying a second squadron along the northern borders with China. Here's why it's required. Number one, China cranks up air activity across eastern Ladakh, and that's one area which is a sensitive area. Chinese fighter jets are often flying close to LAC. And the Chinese have been seen violating 10-kilometer no-fly zone deal between the two sides repeatedly. Chinese sorties have gone up along the LAC since June. China has upgraded all its major air bases facing India, and that's something India has to take cognizance of. The Uddhav Thackeray faction of Shiv Sena has moved a fresh petition in the Supreme Court seeking a halt on the proceedings before the Election Commission regarding the recognition of what is a real Shiv Sena. This comes days after the Election Commission asked the rival factions of Shiv Sena to submit documents to prove their majority and support their claims before the Election Commission over the symbol. It's a big twist in the 2002 Gujarat riots case. The SIT has submitted a report that there is ample evidence to prove that there was a conspiracy hatched between the former DGP RV Srikumar, Teesta Talwar and Sanjeev Bhatt at the behest of the late Congress leader Ahmed Patel in the case. As per this report, Srikumar was part of a larger nexus from the very beginning. Protests continue against Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal after the Lieutenant Governor recommended a CBI probe on the Aam Aadmi Party's excise policy.
BJP workers hit the streets to protest against alleged irregularities in the implementation of the excise policy. They held placards and raised slogans against Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal and Deputy Chief Minister Manish Sisodia while they marched towards Aam Aadmi Party's office. But they were soon blocked by the police. The protesters clashed with the cops, some tried to jump over barricades and were immediately detained. This is the third straight day of protests in the national capital against the Delhi government. The trigger is Lieutenant Governor V.K. Saxena recommending a CBI investigation into the contentious Delhi excise policy.
Zameer Ahmed Khan, a Karnataka Congress leader and Siddaramaiah loyalist, has taken a jibe at D.K. Sivakumar, and this is for wooing the Vocaliga community. He said, and I'm quoting, "Can I become the chief minister with just Muslim votes? We need all communities," unquote. The remark didn't go down well with Sivakumar, who has warned for a disciplinary action. Weeks after a student's death in a school in Kalukuruchi, a class 12 student was found dead at the hostel of girls' school in Tamil Nadu's Tiruvallur district. According to initial police probe, the student died due to suicide, but the case has been transferred to the Crime Branch Criminal Investigation Department. At least 8 people were killed after double-decker bus collided in Uttar Pradesh.
The collision took place in Barabanki, which is about 30 kilometers from capital Lucknow. Both buses were headed towards Delhi from Bihar. Around 4:30 in the morning, the bus coming from Sitamarhi rammed into a stationary bus from behind. The result was disastrous. The stationary bus was ripped into shreds. Among the 8 killed was a 12-year-old. Police suspect the bus driver was sleepy when he drove into a stationary bus in front.
Amid the rising cases across the world, monkeypox has been declared a global health emergency by the World Health Organization. This labeling will put in motion a
very warm welcome. You're watching the 3 p.m. newscast with me, Akanksha Swaroop, on CNN News 18. Let's begin the telecast with some breaking inputs coming in. We begin with a CNN News 18 mega exclusive. CNN News 18 has access locations of training camps in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. Sources tell CNN News 18 that 3 prominent clusters of terror camps are fully operational in Pakistan and POK. Now, the areas we are talking about are in Manshera, Muzaffarabad and Kotli. These centers give arms for training to cadre of multiple terror outfits that work mainly as feeders to launch pads located in the forward areas in Kashmir. Now, most of these cadre in these camps are youth recruited from South Punjab in India. That's a big story we're breaking to you. CNN News 18 has accessed exclusive information and exclusive documents that bring us details about locations of training camps for terrorism in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. There are 3 prominent locations which are rather clusters of terror camps that are fully operational, and mind you, there are launch pads for terrorists in forward areas of Kashmir, and we are looking at 3 major areas. One is Manshera, the other is Muzaffarabad, and the third is Kotli. Now, these centers are giving arms training to cadre multiple terror outfits. And remember, we are talking about terrorists, and terrorists, where are they from? The location is South Punjab. The youth of South Punjab is being hired for these terror training camps located in Muzaffarabad and Manshera and Kotli. For more details, let's quickly go across to my colleague Anand Narasimhan. Anand, take us through the details.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, what we have accessed is details of not just the launch pads, but now the training camps. So it's going backward. That's what we are doing here. Our investigations editor Manoj Gupta getting us these details that the Indian authorities, the intelligence agencies are watching like hawks the build-up. On Friday last, we showed you how these launch pads are positioned very close to the international border. So one of the regions is Shakargarh, and the fact that these terrorist outfits are now combining ranks. So if there is a Bakht Zameen of Al-Badr present there, there is Tala Saeed of the Lashkar-e-Toiba, and there is also Rauf Asghar or Asghar Kashmiri of the Jaish-e-Mohammed. And these 3 Sarganas are also working with a mixed module of terrorist cadre, where the likes of Al-Badr, Lashkar-e-Toiba, Jaish-e-Mohammed, the Jammu and Kashmir Ghaznavi force and some of the other outfits are combining ranks. Hizbul Mujahideen, they're all combining ranks. There are about 6 terror groups that are combining ranks to form mixed modules. What we are putting out today is a world exclusive of what is happening just days ahead of the 3rd anniversary of the abrogation of Article 370, that's the 5th of August. It is also symbolic because it was on the 5th of August once again that the Bhumi Pujan of at Ram Janmabhoomi happened. And we are also building up to the celebrations of the 75th year of independence, the Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. So on Kargil Vijay Divas, we are putting out the fact that the enemy is using terror groups. The enemy is present there because all these meetings and all these developments are happening in the presence of ISI officers and also members of the Pakistan Army, as someone as the colonel rank is present at these launch pads and at these training camps. 3 training camps or 3 clusters have been identified. Manshera, Muzaffarabad, 2 of the training camps which are present, and what is happening is the cadre are being moved. The training camps are deep in Pakistan post Balakot. So that's where the training camp locations are coming out. First cluster is the Manshera cluster, where you have at least 2 camps. There is all 3 camps which are present there. There is a second cluster of Muzaffarabad, where again there are 3 camps present, 4 camps present. And then you have the third cluster, which is also coming, which is also being built. So let's try and understand these camps. So one of these camps is being run by the Jaish, where it's a mixed module. Another camp is being run by the Lashkar, and the third camp comes in under the Al-Badr, and where you again have mixed camps. So these are the locations. So cluster one is the Manshera camp, and cluster 1 Manshera, and the terror camps are Balakot. Then you have Gari Habibullah and Boi. So this is where these clusters are as far as the training camps are concerned. The second cluster is in Muzaffarabad. Now Muzaffarabad is the capital of Pakistan occupied Kashmir. So from Muzaffarabad They are at the Abdullah bin Masood, Dulai, Chelabandi, and also at the Shawai Nala. So this is where the training camp locations are. We are telling you the training camp locations. From there, these cadre are trained and then moved towards the launch pads, which are about 3 to 5 kilometers from the IB, that's the international border, 2 to 3 kilometers, or bang right next to the line of control. Right now, the movement, the build-up is happening near the international border. That's the information we brought you as far as the launch pads were concerned. One of them is Shakargarh, where even Asghar was seen, Asghar Kashmiri or Rauf Asghar of the Jaish was seen at these launch pads. Now, these terror training camps, the cadre are being mixed. They are largely being traced from South Punjab. So these are the Punjabis who are coming through, and the Punjabis, South Punjab, from South Punjab, the cadre are being brought. They first are brought to these clusters. So they are sent across to 3 or 4 of these camps in Muzaffarabad. There are 3 camps in Manshera, and there they are given weapons and arms training. Now, these are the combined training camps across the line of control and also IB. Now, interestingly, what the inside track is that they train together. Lashkar, Jaish, Al-Badr, Hizbul Mujahideen, and also the Harkatul Mujahideen. So all of these groups are coming together. You also have Jammu and Kashmir Ghaznavi Force. That's also part. So 6 groups are part of it. The cadre are mostly youth who are in their 20s. They are recruited from South Punjab. Now, interestingly, what is happening is that sometime about a year and a half ago, there was a training video from one of these camps where you could see these people coming back after training, and there was a huge presence of radical clerics, cadre, and of course these trainees with automatic weapons and rifles. The nature of the training, arms, and also fidain or suicide attacks. So how to fire, how to aim, shoot, and of course then go ahead and conduct these suicide attacks or bomb attacks. The trained terrorists are supervised by OGWs in Srinagar when they come here. These OGWs are also the ones who collect the weapons drop which are happening via drones. Now, the launch pads are right at the IB, and these launch pads, intelligence agencies are saying, are also the origin for the drones. And that's the reason why there is confirmed presence of not just ISI but also Pakistani military cadre here. The weapons are delivered directly to the OGWs via drones, which are again facilitated by the ISI. And these drone drops allow the weapons drop happening, and then the OGWs ferry these weapons to these cadre who then try to infiltrate. And once they come here, then they are equipped with these guns and this ammunition. So there is the plan to do a Bada Karnama. Also, the fact that these cadre now have been trained in heavy machinery. The recent seizure of huge cache of arms and ammunition has seen a change in the modus operandi, where they have tried to go through short-arm pistol. Now, infiltration to a certain level had come down. Now they are trying to push. There is also information that we put out on Friday that there is a growing frustration among the jihadi groups who are asked to lay low through the time of the ceasefire because Pakistan wanted to get out of the FATF grey list. Now, with a favorable hearing and a possible emergence out of the FATF grey list, because there's a regime change, and also the last time they were able to prove to the FATF that they have actually adhered to majority of the clauses that the FATF had put in. So they believe that Pakistan can emerge out of the Financial Action Task Force grey list. So the jihadi outfits are saying, allow us to break in because we are training cadre and we are not giving them any action, and we want to get in and go ahead and do some karnama. There is also the desperation that we are seeing that Jammu and Kashmir is moving towards elections very, very soon. The build-up is towards elections and perhaps a return to statehood. So as a union territory, elections will be conducted. There will be a Jammu and Kashmir assembly that will be brought in inside the union territory, and perhaps a move towards statehood. There are also local voices which are saying the big Tiranga rally which has started on Kargil Vijay Divas, on the eve of Kargil Vijay Divas, to coincide at Dras today. All of that is being watched very, very closely, and Pakistani establishment believes the only narrative that is working for a sinking country whose economy is dying, whose debts are mounting, whose reserves are getting empty, inflation is soaring, price rise, there is civilian unrest. The only narrative that they believe will save this nation or get them any kind of attention internationally, also from and also funding, is the Kashmir narrative or the Cape Bogie, and they want to revive this. So multiple layers to this as these jihadi outfits are trying to get there, get ready. What we are asking is, Should we wait for a Karnama ahead of the 5th of August 2022 or the 15th of August 2022? Or with this information, should we do a counter-strike and another surgical cleansing of this entire region, of these launch pads which are brimming with jihadi cadre right now? So you have the launch pads, and behind that, these are the locations of the training camp which are ensconced safely closer towards the Pakistani territory and not in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, be it Manshera, Muzaffarabad, where these clusters are and these training camps are. Muzaffarabad is largely POK, Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, but they have moved their camps a little inward. Even in Balakot, it's not at the last location that was bombed by India. It is somewhere else and slightly deeper and protected. They're trying to insulate, but we are putting the locations exactly where the training camps are at this point in time, ladies and gentlemen. So that's the update that we have. It's the big update that we are getting you of, and it's a CNN News 18 exclusive. So not just the launch pads, the modus operandi, and of course the training camps. So training camps is where they're trained. That's the feeder service which is serving the launch pads, and there are at least 200 to 500 cadre present waiting to infiltrate into Indian soil.
All right, so that was Anand Narasimhan giving you an update and all that's been going behind those terror camps, as we've been calling them, feeders to the terror camps. They are the training to those terror camps, as pointed out by Anand right now. There are camps in Manshera, in Muzaffarabad and Kotli, 3 of those camps hiring youth from South Punjab. A lot happening over there. Let's also try and contextualize that big information accessed by CNN News 18. For that, I'm joined in by our guests, Mr. Alok Bansal, who's the Director of India Foundation, Lieutenant Colonel Atul Holkar, who's a defense expert. If I may come to you, Mr. Alok Bansal. First, Mr. Bansal, what do you make of the timing? As we were just pointing out, these are feeders to the terror camp. CNN News 18 has accessed exclusive information that now exposes these terror training camps. Earlier, as Anand was pointing out, we had also spoken about those bases. These, what we are looking at, are feeders to the terror camps. How do you make of the timing at a time when we are looking at a year that celebrates the 75th year of independence? We are looking at 5th of August, which will be commemorating 3 years of the abrogation of Article 370. How dangerous is the timing of such feeders of terror camps?
See, the timing is extremely significant because it marks the 3 years of abrogation of Article 370, most of the provisions of Article 370, reconstitution of the state. Then we have the 75th anniversary of our independence on 15th August. And as brought out rightly by Anand, the government is looking at normalization of things in Jammu and Kashmir. There's likely to be elections end of this year or early next year, which will be followed by, once the assembly actually recommends that the restitution of statehood should be there, I think at some stage, restoration of statehood to Jammu and Kashmir is likely to be there. And obviously, the people across the borders are not very comfortable with this sort of situation, and they would want the situation to be the peace and the development that's going on to be toppled up. And I think that's where you are seeing a large number of these camps are being run. And these camps are being run close to the line of control. Muzaffarabad, Manshera is of course in Punjab, so it is beyond that, but they have those launch pads which are closer to the LOC. And the aim is that before the winters set in, they would want to push these infiltrators. So if the subsequent developments take place in winters, there is a turbulence. But more importantly, the month of August is going to be extremely important because you have both 5th August and 15th August, which are very important. We need to remember that last 15th August, Taliban moved into Kabul. So this 15th August, again, which is going to be the 75th anniversary of India's independence, could cause a problem. And there is a possibility that they are probably trying to create disturbances in the peaceful region of Jammu and Kashmir.
Absolutely. Lieutenant Colonel Holkar, if I could bring you in on this, what do you make of the timing? Also, how do you view the changing face of militancy in the valley, whether it is the role of drones or OGWs? We are looking that there's at a time when, you know, the active participation of these drones and the OGWs is also increasing by the day. How do you analyze the overall changing face of militancy in Kashmir?
Hi, Jai Hind, Akansha. Let me, start with little bit more of Pakistan before we come to exactly what exactly is happening on these launching pads and closer to our LAC. Firstly, Pakistan currently is a nation in turmoil. It's imploding. Right? It's probably a beginning of the end. Not that we would like that to happen, but the fact of the matter is, look at Pakistan currently. It's in total political turmoil. Imran Khan is breathing down the current, government. The army appears to be absolutely clueless because it used to be the master of the politicians. But the fact is now it doesn't want to come into the forefront because there is a total economic shamble, much worse than Sri Lanka has seen. Right, and then this economic turmoil is only going to go up. Look at the inflation rate, which is unofficially now slated to be around touching 30%, and there is no food to eat. There's no, I don't know how Pakistan is surviving, and they desperately need something. But the fact of the matter is, the army is divided. The ISI, the main body itself, is divided against pro and anti-Imran and pro and anti-government currently. Then it comes to our, if you remember what Hillary Clinton said, when you grow snakes in your backyard, one day they're going to come to bite. So what do? They have been growing these snakes. Somewhere they have to utilize the snakes. Taliban have turned against them. Taliban don't want them, so they cannot put these guys into Afghanistan. Then fact of the matter is that the Chinese are also breathing down their neck due to their CPEC issues. And Chinese also want to put a counter onto the other side of India. So that's why they're like masters in trying to use Pakistan as one of their, client state. And if you really look into this, it's not very grave, I would say. Indian Army has enough of capacity and capability to handle these things. We have been monitoring both Chinese and Pakistanis very, very closely. And even if there are terror camps, I don't think we should, initiate anything at this stage. We are well aware as to what is happening. In fact, I must also tell you, Bilawal Bhutto is desperate to meet the foreign minister. They want to start the trade. If they know it, if they don't start the trade, then how will they survive for this? Where is the food going to come from? So these things, I mean, they would be maneuvering, trying to pacify the militants out there, try to keep them alive, but they will not like to initiate anything. Islamic world more or less started ignoring them. One odd statement of OIC doesn't matter anymore.
But don't you think, Lieutenant Colonel Holkar, there's a lot, depending on chance over here. Can India afford to take that chance? Alok Bansal, if I could bring you in on this, this exclusive information that's been accessed by CNN News 18, it comes 2 days after the Kargil Vijay Divas, when I'd like to refer to what our Defence Minister, Honorable Rajnath Singh ji said. He said that, India is self-reliant, A. B, he also said that Pakistan-occupied Kashmir belongs to Kashmir. It belongs to India. Is India now ready, since he claimed that we are self-reliant and that he had full faith in India's defense mechanism? Do you think we are now at a point where India can fully occupy Pakistan-occupied Kashmir?
See, there is a transformation, and we need to understand. From 72, when during first stage where Pakistan occupied Jammu and Kashmir, has become a part of the national discourse. The statement of Rajnath Singh ji actually focuses that, and it tells us that it is now part of our national discourse, and India is now striving. Now we are in a position that we could probably look at taking this territory back.
But perhaps national discourse is the first baby step, right?
Undoubtedly, without a national discourse, you cannot move forward. And more importantly, please remember, a nation does not lose its territory just because somebody else has occupied it. A nation loses its territory only when it goes out of the national discourse. As long as we remember that the territory is ours, even if it is in somebody else's adverse possession, it is ours. And we will someday occupy it, we will someday regain it, we will someday recapture. But it should not go out of the national discourse. And that's why it's essential that statements like the ones which were given by the defense minister must be given from time to time. And these are essential to build up the national discourse.
All right, Lieutenant Colonel Atul Holkar, I remember back in 2018, in September of 2018, then Army Chief, the late General Bipin Rawat had said that there is a need for more surgical strikes. Do you think that now is the time for Balakot 2.0?
I don't think at this stage there are enough of countermeasures India is taking regularly on a daily basis at battalion level, at post level, at company level. It does not require a very major strike. We do not want to
But are those measures
vitiate the
enough? Are those measures enough to, I mean, if we are seeing youth from South Punjab being hired, are those measures enough to stop that youth from South Punjab from being recruited? What does that mean for the youth of Kashmir?
So that is a very pertinent question. The fact of the matter is the youth of Kashmir have refused to join the Pakistan. You should have seen the video on 21st of July this month. And they were shooting at the Kashmiris in Pakistan occupied Kashmir, and they were sloganing against the Pakistani army, the Pakistani state, and that what indicates that the local population has just given away and the entire system of supporting Pakistan anymore in Pakistan occupied Kashmir. And that is the reason they are trying to get as many Punjabis as possible, but it's just a matter of time before the Punjabis also would be, I think, probably disliked by the local population. This is alarming. It's a great report. It's good to keep an eye, but I think the government has adequate measures in place to take care of all this.
Mr. Bansal, if I could bring you in on this, do you think that these measures are enough to stop the recruitment of youth from South Punjab or even youth from Kashmir?
So what I'm saying is that yes, Pakistan has to keep this thing alive. Otherwise,
no, because see, when we look at OGWs and the changing face of militancy, we call it OGW, we call it hybrid militancy. There's a very fine line. The fact of the matter is that the youth on ground level is very much part of this. So terrorism, as they say, is also a state of mindset that one has to address, not just terror camps.
Akansha, since the abrogation of Article 370, I have not heard a single call for lockdown of Kashmir Valley, just one odd one. There are no stone throwing. It's a gradual change which is happening, and it is happening for good. The way Pakistan is imploding is also the time which Kashmiris are understanding that which part of the world they should be aligned with. Yes, there are issues, and the report has rightly brought out the sensitivities that are being created on the LAC. But I can assure you, I mean, the government and the army is fully alive to the situation. We are also watching a close friend, neighbor on the other side, and they all are in cohort and they always work together. So we are sensitive to this. There is an issue on Taiwan, and they may like to, kind of just little bit of burning on the Indian side to avoid Indians getting embroiled into counterbalancing China in case something goes up on the Taiwan Strait.
All right. Lieutenant Colonel Atul Holkar would like to say something. I think Mr. Holkar, please go ahead.
Yeah. So basically what I was saying is that the Chinese and Pakistanis, they are, definitely in cohort with each other and trying to ensure that India remains busy. But I can tell you from the situation of 2020 when Galwan happened to now in 2022, things have improved considerably.
Right. I'm running short of time. I'd just like to take Mr. Bansal's views on how the crucial role now to be played by the headquarters in France of the FATF, the international community, considering they've been going easy on Pakistan of late. How much of a deterrent can the FATF be in controlling the kind of terrorism we are witnessing in POK?
See, we need to appreciate that FATF should take cognizance of the fact that Pakistan is again running training camps. And that fact must be highlighted. The figures and the inputs or the intelligence inputs which your channel has accessed must be brought to the notice of the international community so that Pakistan is not brought out of the grey list. We should make all endeavors just by forcing Pakistan, we will not be able to curtail the recruitment in South Punjab. But certainly as far as Jammu and Kashmir is concerned, we should take steps, create a counter narrative so that the radical forces fail in their attempt as far as recruitment of terrorists are concerned.
Right.
And
I'm sorry, we'll have to leave it at that as I'm running short of time. Mr. Alok Bansal, many thanks to you and many thanks to Lieutenant Colonel Atul Holkar for joining in that discussion. And with that, it's time to slip into a short break as more news and updates continue.
CNN News 18 is New India's #1 news choice. Unprecedented 13-week leadership.
The Union Sports Ministry has intervened and directed the Indian Olympic Association to immediately arrange for accreditation of loveliness coach. One person has been arrested for allegedly making death threats to Katrina Kaif and Vicky Kaushal. According to the police, the actors were getting threats on Instagram and the accused was also stalking the actress. The accused is a Lucknow resident who has been struggling to get work in films and TV shows in Mumbai. After Bollywood star Ranveer Singh broke the internet last week with his nude photo shoot for a magazine, a complaint has been filed against the actor. The complainant has accused Ranveer of hurting sentiments of women and insulting their modesty through his photographs. ISRO is now developing indigenous space tourism. Can Gaganyaan, India's first manned space flight, be the vessel for it? Here are some points. Gaganyaan mission aimed at sending astronauts to space, different from ventures by Virgin Galactic and Blue Origin. India's Gaganyaan has not yet flown or proven reliability, unlike the foreign firms. So there's the challenge. Gaganyaan also uses expendable rocket foreign private firms funded by billionaires. ISRO relies on the government funds, and that's where perhaps the fund crunch is going to be a key aspect. And Russian missiles struck Ukraine's Black Sea port of Odessa.
High-precision long-range missiles launched from the sea destroyed a docked Ukrainian warship. A stockpile of anti-ship missiles delivered by the United States were also demolished. Ukraine's Black Sea port of Odessa is crucial for grain exports. And the strike came a day after Kiev and Moscow signed a landmark agreement to unblock grain exports. The deal was hammered out over months of negotiations. Ukrainian President Zelensky claimed the strikes in Odessa showed that Putin can't keep his promises.
And former UK Finance Minister and Prime Minister contender Rishi Sunak has promised to act tough on China if he comes to power. He called Beijing the #1 threat to domestic and global security. The pledge comes after his rival, Liz Truss, accused him of being weak on China and Russia. China's Global Times referred to Sunak as the only candidate with a clear and pragmatic view on developing UK-China style. Myanmar's military has executed 2 democracy activists. One of the deceased was an ally of the ousted leader Aung San Suu Kyi. The activist was sentenced to death in January by a military tribunal of the junta for allegedly masterminding and being involved in anti-regime armed struggle. Several students of the University of Michigan Medical School staged a walkout at the school's white coat ceremony. This happened after an anti-abortion doctor took to the stage as the event's keynote speaker. The now viral video shows students getting up and leaving the auditorium as soon as the anti-abortion doctor stepped to speak. A dramatic video shows a giant sandstorm ripping through China's northwestern region. The powerful sandstorm extended to the sky across a desert landscape, heading toward motorists caught in its path. According to some reports, the sandstorm lasted for about 4 hours and caused traffic disruptions. Thankfully, no casualties have been reported so far. Draupadi Murmu made history today when she took oath as India's first tribal president.
Ahead of the swearing-in ceremony, Draupadi Murmu visited Rajghat to pay tributes to Mahatma Gandhi. Then, accompanied by outgoing President Kovind, she made her way to Parliament. Chief Justice of India N.V. Ramanna administered the oath of office to Draupadi Murmu. Then Murmu addressed Parliament as India's 15th President.
जब देश अपनी आज़ादी के 50वें वर्ष का पर्व मना रहा था, तभी मेरे राजनीतिक जीवन की शुरुआत हुई थी। आज आज़ादी के 75वें वर्ष में मुझे ये नया दायित्व मिला है।
After the ceremony, President Murmu greeted Prime Minister Modi, the Union Ministers, Congress Interim President Sonia Gandhi and other dignitaries who attended her ceremony at the Central Hall of Parliament.
And after the ceremony, Madam President Murmu reached her new residence, Rashtrapati Bhavan.
President Draupadi Murmu received the ceremonial salute at Rashtrapati Bhavan and then took charge of her responsibilities from former President Ramnath Kovind at Rashtrapati Bhavan. At the forecourt, Prime Minister Modi arrived for the
Welcome back. You're watching CNN News 18. I'm Akanksha Swaroop. Now, the ruckus in the monsoon session of the Parliament refuses to die down after the suspension of 4 Congress MPs from Lok Sabha yesterday. As many as 11 MPs have been suspended from the Rajya Sabha today. Of these, 7 MPs belonged to the TMC and 2 belonged to the DMK. Now, the MPs were suspended under the Rule 256 of the House. The MPs have been suspended for a week. Remember, there were MPs suspended earlier as well on Monday. The latest we are learning is 19 Rajya Sabha MPs now suspended for the entire week. This includes 8 suspended earlier. The Rajya Sabha proceedings have been adjourned till 3 p.m. as suspended opposition MPs have not left the House. The proceedings have been adjourned, and for more details, I'm joined in by Arunima on the phone line. Arunima, if you could take us through the details and what is the opposition, including the Congress, alleging to these decisions taken by the Parliament now to suspend these MPs?
So the opposition has come out strongly against the decision to suspend the MPs. They say that this is getting the parliamentary system into disrepute. They have alleged that democracy is being killed, parliamentary democracy is endangered if opposition is not allowed to raise issues that matter to people. Their essential stance being that these opposition MPs wanted to raise the issue of price rise, the issue of GST. These are issues which matter to the common man because it is their day-to-day life that is getting affected. If government cannot allow them to raise these issues also, then why are they representatives of the people? That's what the opposition stance is.
Right.
The government's rebuttal was that we are here to discuss, but you cannot, in the garb of raising people's issue, continue to disrupt the House, agree for a discussion in the Business Advisory Committee, fix a time slot and we'll come back. So that's where the impasse continues. The members are still sitting in the upper house.
Exactly. And if you could, for the benefit of our viewers, Arunima, take us through what exactly happened in the Parliament. I believe there was heavy sloganeering and protests from the opposition members. If you could take us through what exactly transpired.
So in the upper house, the Trinamool Congress, the DMK, the left MPs, the TRS MPs, they were protesting. They had banners and placards in their hands. The chair, Deputy Chairperson Harivansh actually said that, if you continue this, I'll be forced to name you. Naming a Rajya Sabha MP under Rule 256 essentially means that there are going to be strictures passed against you. He repeatedly warned them. The MPs did not yield. They did not go back to their seats. They continued to be in the well of the House. Finally, Deputy Chair decided that he's going to name them, and they were named one by one. Rola Sen, Sushmita Dev, also others like Mausam Noor, Shanta